could start the intro.
How y'all doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing real good. I'm doing pretty good. I hope you're doing just as good as I am right now tonight.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. Hey, Alicia. Hey, Lips. Sarah. Ho, 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 ho. You like this, the Candace clips? I like the one where she goes, I hope you're doing as good as me. It's like, I hope I'm doing a hell of a lot better than that, right, y'all?
Yeah,
Sorry, can't help it. I hope you have a good day, Lips, and I wish you'd stay. Um, she means her feud with your new best friend. Just kidding. Um, yeah. Hey, um, hey, rapper. Um, that's why I would rather take it private somehow. Oh, okay. All right, no problem. I get that. Okay, she said she'll talk to you privately, so okay. I love you guys. I'm glad y'all are here, and I hope y'all are having a good Friday. Woo! We made it to Friday. Finally, Friday. Yeah. So, what do y'all think of this topic? How did Manson get women to kill for him?
About it. He kept an awareness of it. He held up one finger. We're all one.
They bought into what Manson was saying, whereas regular hippies took off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he would hold up one finger when he was, talking to his team, his family, the women that helped him commit that crime, or several crimes actually. We're going to hear about. So, do y'all want to just dive right in and let's get started on this and let's see how it goes? I hope that everything goes okay. Our power has been flickering on and off, and I'm hoping that my internet stays on and I'm able to get through this. But I may make this a two-part series since I did find a lot of footage, of course, online to talk about this topic, which is the Manson women. How did he get them to commit crimes for him? What was it about him? And also, what was it in the psyche of the women, and also Tex, that he was able to manipulate them into crimes for him? He went to prison for conspiracy to commit murder. The females are doing the time for the actual murders. So think about that. He was able to get into the minds of these women and Tex and get them to commit crimes for him. So we'll just dive right in. And oh, okay. I'm sorry, Sarah. Are you good to go ahead and let's start? I'm going to go ahead and start, and let me put up my little fair use here. Okay, let's get started.
The hippie counterculture was reaching new heights on a farm near Woodstock, New York. The message was love, and the mood was fueled by the energy and the ideals of the late 60s. But across the country, fear reigned in Hollywood, California. Actress Sharon Tate, 8 months pregnant, had been brutally murdered along with 4 others at an isolated estate.
All I can tell you right now is that we got 5 dead people, and we're trying to determine who caused their death.
And 24 hours later, a second slaying. A middle-aged couple named Lino and Rosemary LaBianca were knifed to death inside their own home. Unknown killers left bloody graffiti at both scenes. When the arrest finally came down, the city was stunned. The killers were young, with all-American looks. One man, 24-year-old Charles Tex Watson, and 3 women, 20-year-old Leslie Van
Y'all hear
Houten,
this okay?
21-year-old Patricia Krenwinkel, and 21-year-old Susan Atkins. They could have been the girls next door. Yet, their devotion to an ex-convict named Charles Manson was so extreme, it led them to murder.
It was the first real cult. And these were the first cult killings we knew of in this country.
The very thought of these young women dressed in black, armed with sharp knives, entering the homes of complete strangers in the middle of the night and mercilessly stabbing them to death. I mean, it's so horrendous a thought that it's difficult to keep a thought like that in your mind for a couple of moments.
At trial, the girls, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, seemed not only willing to kill, but to die for Charles Manson.
It was beautiful. I remember watching the trees grow and the bees, and I remember climbing all over the rocks up behind the ranch.
The joyfulness inherent in that scene came from the sobriety of meeting every day with the best you can do and having the awareness of what needs to be done for the good of all.
When I first came to the ranch, I woke up happy. I did what I wanted, except that you wanted to do as much as you could to help. Charlie never said, you have to work, you know. It was just common knowledge that everybody there wanted to help. It was very natural.
He kept everybody off balance. It was typical programming. He became the center of their universe. He isolated them from outside reality. He isolated them from media. They didn't have any newspapers, radio, anything. He closed in on them with his belief system.
If you weren't righteous, you didn't last long up there.
Somebody was always bringing home food. It was a joy to be serving each other.
There was something about the ones who stayed with him, something reacted to what Manson was saying. They accepted it. And, you know, Manson wasn't talking about flowers and smoking pot or something, he would talk about how Adolf Hitler was his hero for what he did to Jews in World War II. And he was very much a racist and wouldn't let any minorities in the family.
Everybody gets a lot of peace out of giving to somebody they love, giving to family.
Charlie Manson, he kept a sobriety about it. He kept an awareness of it. He held up one finger. We're all one.
They bought into what Manson was saying, whereas regular hippies took off. And the family actually referred to themselves as slippies. They said they were going to slip under the awareness of society, that society would think that they were peace-loving hippies, when in reality they were very violent and dangerous. If Governor Newsom paroles these people, I think he is making a fatal political mistake. I worried if she gets out, she'll probably fall in with some dangerous guy again. What normal guy is going to have anything to do with Leslie Van Houten?
In California, they changed the Constitution to allow the governor in a murder case to be able to reverse a grant of parole.
Right now, it's between her and the governor.
This murder makes people a little crazy. Gavin Newsom is the first governor who was a kid when these murders occurred. And maybe finally, there can be some sense applied to this.
I would be disappointed if Governor Newsom found them suitable for parole.
They've done their time for what they did. They are political prisoners, there's no question about it. The state of California really doesn't like Charlie and his friends. It's the parole board's job to determine who's suitable for parole. It's not a politician's job to do that. The parole board knows 100 times more about Leslie Van Houten than Governor Newsom.
We don't know yet how Governor Newsom is going to handle these parole hearings. He just started his first term in office, which is why it's a bit unclear how this governor will handle not only these grants of parole from the parole board, but in general, whether this will be a departure from his predecessor.
For his career and his legacy, to let Manson killers out on the street. And of course, if they're paroled, they'll be paroled to California, and he will basically be responsible for whatever they do on the outside.
Bobby has essentially one violent act in his entire history of his life. Not only should he be released now, he probably should have been released a long time before. There were two commissioners. It was a very in-depth conversation that Bobby had with the commissioners. And I think it was very honest and demonstrated his insight and his remorse. The panel's ultimate opinion was that Bobby should be released from custody. It was a very emotional moment for him. He's never heard those words before from a parole board. So yeah, it was a very emotional moment.
I was right there at the parole hearing. I was sat there with the victims' families. That man should never be paroled. They may have been brainwashed to be part of the cult, that is true. But once they were in, they are responsible for their actions.
Brainwashing isn't a term that I use. I even stay away from cult because these terms have become so generic that they've kind of lost meaning.
Would you call this a cult?
Everyone who's worked with her, who knows her, considers her
Guys,
not
y'all
just
tell me in
a
chat, do you
reasonable
think,
person, a valuable
that you
person.
consider
She could
the family a
contribute
cult?
so much.
And do you
So,
see
for
this happening
society's
in some
sake,
of our
I think
chats?
she should be out.
Cult-like mentality.
What they did was a
Thou shalt
planned,
not be in other
brutal
people's chats.
murder of innocent people.
The law is, you get sentenced. A court hears all of the evidence. Leslie's convictions were 2 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy. The judge made her eligible for parole after 7 years.
Our system is based on rehabilitation, and there is no one who can say she isn't rehabilitated. Well, they say it, but it's because they don't know her.
Leslie really regrets to no end what she did, the public displays of insensitivity to the victims, her conduct. She owns it all. She can't undo it. She wishes she could.
Those murders were so brutal. And I know they were a long time ago, but those family members are still alive. You know, there are unintended consequences that go way beyond just the one victim, the person who dies.
For a long time, decades, I just told myself I don't have to forgive him. There's some people you don't have to forgive. I realized, you know, just for my soul, I think I really, really, truly have to forgive. And I did. So when I heard that he died, I think my feeling was relief.
We've seen those wild eyes
And
before,
it was
haven't
like,
we?
what? It was kind of like, I found it a tremendous relief.
Good riddance. That was my reaction, but I knew that some people were fascinated by him, and that even though he was dead, that his memory wasn't going to fade away.
You know, 50 years of this craziness, they took his life, man. You know, you say life sentence, doesn't have any life in it, man.
One of the last things he said to me on the phone shortly before he died, which was really surprising coming from him considering the life he'd lived, was, "Everything's perfect." I love the guy. That's how I felt. I wouldn't have wanted him to hang around for me. It was his time, and he went.
People were very protective of him.
In the second trial, 5 of the jurors hung for a manslaughter charge. They wouldn't convict on murder because they didn't think that she intended to kill anybody. She had been out on bail for 6 months. When granted bail, the judge ruled she was not a risk. She went to work, she went to court, everything was fine, not one problem. They convicted her of 2 counts of murder, 1 count of conspiracy. The judge seriously considered giving her probation. But he gave her the next lowest sentence, which was 7 years to life on each one of the 3 counts. And then he ran all of the counts concurrent. At that time, she had over 8 years of credit, so she was eligible for parole at the time she was sentenced. That was 41 years ago.
Wow.
A long time ago. I called CIW and asked if I could talk to her, and she got on the phone, and I called to apologize to her. I felt like I had told her about everybody at the ranch. And she said, "You thought you were doing a good thing. I've never for
Do
1
y'all
minute blamed
know
you."
females that are like this, that are cultish?
Even though I
protect
do
a
believe
leader at all
in
costs.
second chances, I believe in
and
rehabilitation.
spend
This is
their
different.
existence white
These
knighting
women
for them.
were under Manson's influence, but they still made a choice. The consequence that was given to
some
them
of
at
them
the
have
time
never even
was the
met
death
him.
penalty. That was changed because the death penalty was outlawed at that time in California. But it doesn't mean that they should be released from prison.
If it had been anybody else, they would have been out 20 years ago. There's people that have done 50 times worse. She was a victim, but she also victimized other people. You know,
Writing pig and blood is pretty bad.
So, I don't know. It's really hard. I don't know if she's, I don't know if she's paid for her crime or if she will have ever paid for her crime. Has she apologized? Has she shown remorse? I don't watch those parole hearings. I just hear about the end thing. So it's between her and God, and right now it's between her and the governor.
Curious, and when this certain creator is asked about credentials, it angers him.
Leslie was originally tried and convicted with Manson and the other women. During that trial, her attorney had died.
Ronald Hughes was Leslie Van Houten's attorney. Ronald Hughes knew Manson and the family before the murders. He was a UCLA law student, and he'd go out to Spahn Ranch and drop acid with them. And Hughes
Pretty cool
was
place to
going
hang
along
out if
with
you're a
the
hippie,
program,
right?
And that
I could see where that would be appealing if I was a teenage runaway.
We broke on a Friday, and then we were supposed to come back on Monday and talk about jury instructions. Manson pointed across the counsel table, pointed right at Hughes with his finger, and said, "Attorney, I don't want to ever see you in this courtroom again." And we never saw him again.
Monday morning came and Leslie's lawyer didn't show up, and nobody knew what happened.
The judge waited a couple of weeks for him and then appointed Maxwell Keith to take his place. Hughes' body was found 6 months later, but it was so badly decomposed that they could not tell the cause of death.
That's fun and curious. We're going to chat about what we've watched so far. So these are kind of out of sequence. My husband uploaded them to StreamYard for me, and they're a little out of sequence because I found, like I said, a massive amount of footage and information on the topic. That sort of the ending there where, they're already, behind bars doing time, and you see what that decision. I tell my children this all the time. Be methodical when you make decisions. Don't rush. Don't make decisions based off emotion. Think it through, because one wrong decision can be catastrophic in your life. It can send you to a downward spiral if you're not careful. So be very, very careful in every major decision that you make, that you don't make it, on a whim and shooting from the hip with no game plan. Always think ahead, have a game plan, have a backup plan. My ex hated that I had that mindset of always have a backup plan, but nothing's permanent. So, like when you're making a decision to white knight for someone else, and in our case, when I'm, airing this, it's not just for a documentary type, letting everybody know this information, but it's also to bring awareness that we see this in our true crime community with some of our creators, expecting us to be cult members and thou shalt not be caught in other people's chats, or there's hell to pay, like us being doxxed, us being called names, just because we've decided, not to be part of that cult anymore because we didn't really see a mission. We didn't see a real purpose. And a lot of it was fabricated. And so there's consequences to every decision that you make. And so, exactly, brown-eyed girl. Exactly. It's not. I'm hoping that the footage that I'm getting ready to pull up is the backstory of the females. So I'm not sure. My husband uploaded these, and we'll see if it's the right footage or not. If it's not, we'll just talk about it.
We say, these are your children, and you threw them out, and I took them in. They were the children of America, but he perverted them and corrupted them, and they became something else.
Charles Manson began life on the wrong side of the tracks and spent the next 35 years there, in and out of prison, for crimes like forgery and pimping. But the most notorious of the Manson girls who killed, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, and Leslie Van Houten, were children of the middle class. On the surface, they led comfortable lives in California's sprawling post-war suburbs. Leslie Van Houten was born in 1949, the second of 4 children. She was especially close to her father, Paul, an automobile auctioneer.
She was very happy and outgoing and very athletic. She seemed to enjoy life. She just was sometime without care and abandon, I would say. She did break her arm a couple times just by being energetic and being really into whatever she was doing.
She was from a very upstanding family in Monrovia, California. She was a homecoming princess. She was always very, very pretty and very bright.
Patricia Krenwinkel grew up in the Los Angeles suburb of Westchester. She was the daughter of an insurance agent and a homemaker.
Pat was a darn good kid. Didn't complain about anything. No matter where I took her, I never had one bit of trouble with Pat.
Then something happened that left both girls feeling alienated and angry. By the time they were in high school, Leslie's and Patricia's parents were both divorced.
During the time I was brought up, nothing was talked about. I mean, my parents' dissolution of their marriage, you don't talk about that. You don't talk about problems in the home. I believe that I was desperately seeking someone that I could love and hold on to and call my own. That somehow my dad leaving had left a space there. I was very close to my father, and the hole when he left.
Okay, I want to talk about this with you guys. When Okay, so they had a pretty basic normal life until there was a divorce. So we've seen, like, on the television episodes of Intervention, where that can really put a child that's a teenager in a total bad, dark place, and they turn to drugs and alcohol. And so that seems to be what's happened. What, honey? What? Anyway, are y'all talking to me? I'm gonna assume they're not. Sorry, it's my family. It seems as though that affected them in such a negative way. We're talking like they said she was, what, a prom queen or whatever. Yes, Stedman. He's helping my son. You know, and it's a father figure. It's their father that they're close to. So here comes the perfect storm, right?
Both girls began drowning their pain in alcohol and drugs.
When I was about 15 years old, I began using drugs. And something happens when you use drugs. You begin to find people who, like yourself, use drugs.
Meanwhile, as a teenager in Northern California, Susan Atkins chose outright rebellion. She dropped out of high school and found work as a topless dancer in San Francisco.
Susan Atkins was probably the most deprived of all of the women that followed Manson. Her mother died while she was a young teenager. Her mother had cancer. And they told stories about how Susan brought all her friends on Christmas to sing carols under her mother's room at the hospital. She was very affected by the loss of her mother.
1967, the summer of love. For all three girls, Leslie, Pat, and Susan, it was their summer of looking for love. Their search took them straight to San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury. By then, 32-year-old ex-pimp Charles Manson was exploring the same streets. Another Manson follower, Lynette Squeaky Fromm, never actually killed for him, but she became one of his earliest followers. Young Lynette's childhood in Los Angeles was overshadowed by her parents' poor relationship. She was quiet and sensitive, but her talents in dancing, drama, and poetry frequently put her center stage. In junior high, Lynette's classmates voted her personality plus.
She came from post-war suburbia, except that this was post-war suburbia in the backyard of Hollywood. She dated a guy named Bill Siddons, who went on to manage a group called The Doors. She was someone who was extremely familiar with media culture and celebrity culture as just an ordinary, average, expected part of growing up.
Although Lynette Fromm was talented, it became clear that she was also troubled. By senior year, her attendance at Redondo Union High School had become sporadic. At an after-school job, she found a frightening way to express her pent-up emotions.
Several of her friends who were working with her in the shop remember this evening where she took the staple gun and just shot up her arm methodically and didn't flinch at all.
Those who knew Lynette speculated that abusive treatment by her father lay at the root of her pain. The Fromm household had never been warm, but when Lynette was a teenager, her father suddenly stopped speaking to her for 3 years while living under the same roof.
Her father just decided she was not worth talking to anymore, and he did exclude her from.
So do y'all hear this? He gets home from the war and won't acknowledge her existence. Like, she's sitting in the same room and she has to say, "Mom, will you ask Dad this?" Yeah, he wouldn't even acknowledge her existence, and it scarred her very badly.
From his life. She wasn't even 100% clear why. She spoke to her mother. If something had to come from her father, she spoke to her mother, and her mother asked her father and then answered Lynn. I mean, you imagine being 13 years old and not being able to talk to your father.
On the streets, it was a time of sexual exploration and experimentation with drugs, especially LSD, which was still legal in the 60s. It was just what Charles Manson was looking for.
Manson had come out of prison and wound up in Haight-Ashbury, and a girl came up to him in the street, handed him a flower, and said, "Love." And he thought, ooh, something's going on here. He'd been in prison for a while, and there was this whole new movement. And he grabbed onto it and ran with it.
In 1967, Charles Manson recruited the first member of his hippie family, a Berkeley librarian named Mary Bruner. At 19, Lynette Fromm dropped out of El Camino Community College and became the second.
She said she was sitting on a curb in Venice, California. Her parents had thrown her out. And she said that this bus drove up, and this man got out, and he looked at her and he said, "Your parents threw you out, didn't they?" And she thought he was a genius and a psychic and everything else. She said, "How did you know that?"
She thought he had superpowers because he looked at her and said, "Your parents threw you out, didn't they?" At that moment, she became starry-eyed and disillusioned and thought this man had superpowers. Do we know someone like that?
And she got into the bus with him, and she never came back.
He waited for, 30 seconds or so, and he said, I can't make up your mind for you. And he said goodbye, and he left. He got about halfway down the block, and I just grabbed everything and I ran.
In Manson, Lynette Squeaky Fromm finally found a father figure. She would prove useful to him in managing his rapidly expanding family.
Manson's real talent was that he recruited very young girls, very young and very impressionable, at a time in their lives when they had identity problems and they didn't know where they were going in society. And society was very strange, right? Then.
For the Manson girls, life outside of society would soon take a strange, hallucinatory turn as they fell under Charles Manson's power. By 1968, Charles Manson's hippie family had grown to a core of about 25 young people. They settled on an abandoned movie outside of Los Angeles called Spahn Ranch and shared everything from sex to hallucinogenic drugs. Leslie Van Houten, Patricia Krenwink, Susan Atkins, and Lynette Squeaky Fromm were disillusioned with their middle-class upbringing and searching for something better. They thought they'd found it in Charles Manson.
As twisted as it all got, I really think that I felt that I had met someone that, by being around him, would have a positive change.
He actually would forget our names sometimes, but it wasn't an insult, because his love was without a doubt, and it just so happened that we hooked into something that was true.
First, there was a kind of love, you could actually be next to people who are making love and not think too much about it. There was a real close relationship to most of the members of the family. There was a lot of love there before there was fear and death and murder.
It was a time of spiritual exploration, and even celebrities were looking for it. The Manson family had attracted visits from Jim Morrison of The Doors and Cass Elliot of the Mamas and Papas. For a few weeks, the family camped out at Beach Boy Dennis Wilson's house.
Dennis goes out for a recording session, and he comes back at about 2 in the morning. And Manson...
Okay, I want to stop it there for a second. Ladies, how much do you like the lead of a band? Me. So you're a teenager, you're tripping on acid, and this guy who's semi-cute is offering you a free place to crash all the drugs, booze, sex, and rock and roll you can imagine. And he plays guitar and he sings. So much so that the Beach Boys is interested in him. So then are you, oh my gosh, wow. You're adding the star effect, the Hollywood effect to all of it then. Then he becomes bigger than life again. And you're going to hear on one of these videos that I've got, where while the women were tripping on acid and they're taking their tops off and they're, dancing and feeling the love and the trip is coming on and they're enjoying their buzz, he climbs up on a crucifix that he's made where he can hook himself up and look like Jesus. So here you are listening to his music, listening to his gab, and you're digging his vibe, and he gets up there and you're tripping and he's looking like Jesus Christ himself. This is how he manipulated these women.
Manson greets them at the front door, and Manson gets down on his knees and kisses Wilson's feet and invites Wilson into Wilson's own home.
Through Dennis Wilson, Manson met record producer Terry Melcher, the son of Doris Day, and even visited Melcher's estate on Cielo Drive. That estate would later be leased to a young actress named Sharon Tate and her husband, the film director Roman Polanski. But for the young women in Manson's family, their guru was more than just a way to meet the stars.
He had a way of preaching to them. He would say things like, man invented time. There was never time before man invented it. And they would say, oh, he's brilliant. He came up with this. They were kids. But it sounded very profound to them. And they became dedicated to him. They absolutely followed him.
For Squeaky, Spahn Ranch and the other Manson family haunts felt more like home than anywhere else she'd lived.
Her experience traveling with Manson and being part of that group was so much better than living in this dreary, frightening household in the suburbs, being treated
at a house where the dad don't even speak to her.
Father. For her life
so
improved
hell yeah, I could see where she would beat her feet for a better vibe
and at first,
somewhere.
Life on the ranch was not so different from other counterculture
her own father
communes.
Isn't even
It meant taking countless acid trips together and experimenting with group sex. But in the era of free love, Manson was using sex and drugs to control and dominate.
You basically slept with whoever, you either told to or wanted to. Our bodies weren't our own.
You slept with whoever you wanted to or whoever he told you to. That's how much they were already under his control.
He'd go on trips with them all the time, either taking no LSD himself or a smaller dosage than they would so he could retain more control over his mental faculties. And
Did you hear that? He didn't take the drugs that they did so that he could stay in control of them. That sounds familiar too, doesn't it?
dig down deep into their psyche during these trips and try to remove many of their convictions on life.
To Barbara Hoyt, a 17-year-old runaway, life in the Manson family seemed like an eye-opening game, and the goal was to distort reality.
Life at Spahn's Ranch was a quote-unquote magical mystery tour. Every day was a different thing. We dressed different, we played it, we lived on a movie set.
And one thing we didn't have is watches, and the whole idea was to let time disappear. There was no time. We were all living now.
Everybody had a role. Leslie was one of Manson's front street girls, the prettier women he used to attract men. Squeaky was the Manson family's den mother.
She was very supportive to all of us. People in the family, she was a little bit maternal in how I related to her. She was a very nice, loving person. You'd never know.
And Quiet Pat was a good soldier. She helped keep everybody in line.
When everyone else became jumpy or they became nervous or something started going wrong and they were thinking, maybe this isn't where I want to be, well, then you can take them to me because I would make them somehow feel all right.
Volatile Susan Atkins, nicknamed Sadie, blindly and enthusiastically followed Charlie.
Charlie would say something like to Sadie, go get me a coconut, and I don't care if you have to go clear to Jamaica to do it. And she'd get up and she'd start out.
Don't want to get a strike, so we put this in there.
The door, and he'd say, never mind. And she would have done it. She would have gone clear to Jamaica if she had to get him a fresh coconut.
By the summer of 1969, Charles Tex Watson, one of Manson's few male followers, was giving the girls murder lessons under Manson's command. At first, it seemed like just another game.
Okay, so this is where they start training them on, you know, pretty much like combat, teaching them how to shoot a gun and that sort of thing.
Demonstrated how to stab a person. He told us don't just
How to
stick the
stab
knife
a
in and out.
person.
He said bring it up when you cut someone so that you cut up more stuff. And he made us practice.
Slowly, the mood turned to paranoia. Increasingly, a common goal emerged: giving up individual ego to take on Manson's will. The family listened as he compared himself to Jesus Christ and the devil.
Sometimes he would reenact the crucifixion when we were on LSD. And it was very realistic and it was hard to watch.
You had them thinking you were Jesus Christ. How did you do that?
Just being myself. All men are Jesus Christ.
They are?
Sure.
Manson also began to ask for bizarre tests of devotion.
I'd stand him against a tree and he'd throw knives at me. He's thrown hatchets at people. Do you trust me? Do you love me enough? You know, stand up against that tree. And he asked us constantly, each one of us, you know, will you die for me? Will you be my finger on a hand? Will you be me?
Who does that sound like, guys? Who's willing to be there for me in the end? Who does that sound like, y'all? Sarah, I know that you know who it sounds like.
So, did you want to be like him?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Did all of you want to be like him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Manson's talk was growing darker, and he claimed an apocalyptic racial revolution was at hand.
That's right,
He
Johnny.
called it Helter Skelter, after the Beatles song. He said the race riots and black militancy of the 60s were just the beginning. According to Manson, Helter Skelter would clear the way for the family to run the country. But as the summer of 1969 wore on, Manson became convinced they would have to ignite it themselves.
We started to have a lot more guns at the ranch and knives, and people were on lookouts. We were pretty much all running on definite fear.
The first Manson family murder took place in late July 1969. The victim was a musician named Gary Hinman. The killers were people Hinman knew, family members Susan Atkins, Bobby Beausoleil, and Manson himself. It was Manson who sliced off Hinman's ear, and Bobby who stabbed him to death.
I had to take the gun away from the guy. The guy shot off on the wall, and I cut his ear off, and I took the gun, and I gave it to the kid. I said, here. I said, now I got to kill this fool. He said, oh, don't kill me, don't kill me. I said, all right, are you going to tell the parole officer I cut your ear off? He said, no. And Bobby killed him and stabbed him in the heart, and he died. There's your heart, girl. There's your heart, Frenchie. There's your wine, Beausoleil.
Susan Atkins left a gruesome signature. On the walls of Hinman's home, she scrawled the words, political piggy, in his blood. When he was found, no one knew the murder of this anonymous hippie was just a dress rehearsal for what would come 10 days later. August 8th, 1969 began like any other day at Spahn Ranch outside Los Angeles. By now, Charles Manson and his family were looking less like a hippie commune and more like a bloodthirsty cult. Some members had already committed one murder in the name of Helter Skelter, a music teacher named Gary Hinman. Now Manson made it clear there would have to be another, more shocking crime.
Charlie came and woke me up, and he said, "Get up. I want you to go somewhere."
Manson also rounded up 3 other family members, Charles Tex Watson, Susan Sadie Atkins, and Linda Kasabian.
He said, "Get in the car." And he said, "Do everything the text says." And we were off.
Former family member Barbara Hoyt remembers that night as the night that Susan Atkins asked her to run a special errand.
Charlie was there, and he wanted to know why I was there, and I said because Sadie had called the back of the ranch and wanted 3 sets of dark clothes, and he said they already left.
Charlie didn't explain where they went, but Barbara heard it from a ranch hand.
He had asked Sadie, "Where are you guys going?" And she leaned out of the car window and said, "We're gonna go kill some mother pigs."
The group was headed to Los Angeles, to the home of a record producer Manson once visited. Now an actress named Sharon Tate was living there. She was 8 months pregnant. Her husband, film director Roman Polanski, was out of the country, and she was hosting 3 house guests: Hollywood hairdresser Jay Sebring, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, and her Polish boyfriend, Wojtek Frykowski. Manson told Tex to kill everybody there, and Pat says her instructions were just as clear.
He told me to do whatever Tex said. And I understand, and I believe Tex when he said Charlie told him to do it.
While Linda Kasabian waited, Tex Watson led Susan Atkins and Patricia Krenwinkel onto the estate. Leaping over the wall, Tex surprised 18-year-old Stephen Parent, a friend of the groundskeeper who was just about to leave. Before he could, Tex reached into his car and shot him 4 times, point blank. Inside, Tex and the women led everybody into the living room. Jay Sebring was the next to die. When he tried to protect Sharon, Tex shot and stabbed him. Frykowski was killed trying to escape, stabbed, bludgeoned, and shot by Tex. Abigail Folger also tried to flee, in vain.
At that point in time, I left and followed her. I ran after her with an upraised knife, and we went out through a back door out onto the lawn. And I started stabbing her. I ran her down, and I began to stab her. I remember her saying, "I'm already dead."
Inside, Susan Atkins started to terrified Sharon Tate, who was bound around the neck and strung from the rafters. Atkins later told the story to Virginia Graham, a cellmate in jail.
She said Sharon was crying and begging, "Please don't kill me, please don't kill me. I just want to have my baby. God, please don't kill me." And she says, and I looked her dead in the eye, and I said to her, "Bitch, I don't care about you or your baby, and you're going to die." And she said, and I killed her.
By the time they were done, it was well after midnight, and 5 people were dead. They'd been stabbed more than 100 times.
Why do you think he chose you for that night?
Because he knew I wouldn't question him.
He's got about 25 people to choose from, right? He knew them better than you and I. Why did he choose these particular ones to go along with him? Well, my guess is he felt they were the ones that were most capable of committing these murders for him.
The next night, Manson tapped the same group plus Leslie Van Houten. She was eager to prove her loyalty.
He asked me, do you believe
She was eager to prove her loyalty to him, and he chose them specifically because he knew that they could carry out the murders.
Believe enough in what I say to know that this is something that has to be done, or something to that effect. And I said, yes, I do.
This time, Manson drove the group to Los Angeles. The house he chose belonged to supermarket owner Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. Manson walked in first.
Seen a guy sitting on the couch. When he was sitting on the couch, I pet the dog. I said, hey, look like Sophia Loren there. And I laughed at it. He said, hi. I said, hi.
Manson bound and gagged them both, then left.
I told the other dudes, I'll see you later, man. You know, like, I'll catch it on the run, man. I'm gone, man. And I split.
Although he denied giving the command to kill, Tex and the women say it's a lie. While Tex stabbed Lino LaBianca to death in the living room, Pat and Leslie guarded his wife in the bedroom.
I did have a knife, and I did attempt to stab her. Basically, we gave up very quickly at that, and we went and got Tex.
And then Tex turned me around and handed me the knife, and he said, do something. Because Manson had told him to make sure that all of us got our hands dirty. And I stabbed Mrs. LaBianca in the lower back about 16 times.
Wow, 16
I
times.
went, and Mr. LaBianca was already dead, and I had gotten a fork, and I stabbed him with a fork repeatedly and eventually left the fork in him. And then I wrote words all over the house in blood.
The words were Helter Skelter, Rise, and Death to Pigs. Words Manson had taken from the Beatles' White Album to describe his bloody vision of apocalypse. Now, 8 people were dead, and 3 of Manson's all-American girls, Pat, Leslie, and Susan, were killers. Oddly, one family member was notably absent both nights of murder. Charlie's right hand, Lynette Squeaky Fromm.
Some people say it's because Charlie knew that she wasn't capable of this kind of violent mayhem, and she didn't have what it took to plunge a knife into somebody.
It's a very difficult thing to imagine doing. But I still believe that they were right because they felt right. They felt that
She still
despite
believes they were right.
the ugliness of it, it was the right thing
They
to
carved Sharon's baby out of her
One
stomach.
thing was clear. The
And Squeaky
mastermind
just
behind
said
the
they were
murders had
right.
made sure that Tex and the women all bloodied their hands, while he kept his own hands clean.
I did stay clear of everything.
But they say you didn't because they were acting for you on your instructions.
No.
And under your influence.
Well, maybe influence.
I was muted. Yeah, sorry about that. Do you want to come up before I show this about Squeaky Fromm? Or we can go ahead and watch the backstory on Squeaky Fromm, and then you can come up. That'll be the rest of the footage. There is a video someone shared yesterday of Tina talking about the super soldier and Ernie. And I can't believe how much the eyes are the same. To me, it's innocence that I see in Tina that I also see in Squeaky. It's like a shy innocence almost. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on here. So this is about Squeaky. Doe-eyed almost.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is daddy's stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
In one of our most recent videos, we paid our respects to the final resting place of George Spahn, the guy who owned Spahn Ranch, where Charles Manson and his followers lived during the Tate LaBianca murders. And in that video, I did some research and I learned a lot about Lynette
Couponing for Donna.
Fromm, or Fromm, depending on how you say it. Some people even say Frommy. No matter how you say her name, her nickname was Squeaky, and supposedly it was George Spahn who gave her that nickname because she would always squeak whenever he would touch her leg. Well, in doing research for that video, I learned a lot about Squeaky, and that is why we're here today. We're visiting something called the Squeaky Pool in the Westchester section of Los Angeles.
Seated behind Charles Manson at his first arraignment was Lynette Fromm, a runaway teenager Manson found in California 8 years ago. He named her Squeaky, and she became one of the first members of his so-called family. A tiny girl with red hair, she, like the rest of the family, developed an intense loyalty to Manson. They believed he was the Messiah. The combination of sex and drug-taking and the presence of Manson led to the development of a twisted religious philosophy, and ultimately to Manson's engineering the Sharon Tate murders. But the loyalty was unusual. During the trial, Lynette Squeaky Fromm was among several followers who shaved their heads and put X's in their foreheads. And even after Manson was found guilty of the Tate LaBianca murders, she and other family members remained together, always trying to stay in touch with Manson.
A dancing clown upon the wall is calling all to City Hall. Your grave is mine, oh can't you see? It's your own kind to be free. The truth I've known, you are the king. My love, this world to you I bring. You know, you can be free. It's at your kind and come to me.
To be completely honest, this neighborhood is so quiet and peaceful, it's hard to believe that it has any kind of tie to Charles Manson and what happened and his followers. But this house right here, mind you, it's not the original house, but this is where Lynette Squeaky Fromm lived for a very short period of time when she was growing up. It was only a short part of her childhood. If I'm not mistaken, it was from like 1960 to 1963, and the house has been torn down and rebuilt. But there's one thing that remains, and the people who live here call it the Squeaky Pool. And that's this lamppost right here. When she was living here in 1960, when this pool was put in, she actually wrote her name or scrawled her name in the concrete. Now what we came here to see is right here at the bottom of the lamppost, written into the cement. If you look very closely, now keep in mind, it's been a number of years, so it's been kind of faded or worn, I guess you should say, but
Neat, huh?
Lynette Fromm.
It's still
Lynette
there.
Squeaky Fromm. Crazy, right? From the Manson family. And then right over here, get a little closer if you can see it. The date 1960. A little hard to see, right? But it's crazy that it's still here. Aside from her name and date written in the cement here, there's really not much information I can find about her time living here from 1960 to 1963. She did go to a school up the street called the Orville Wright Junior High School. We're going to visit that in just a little bit. But how cool is it that she was here, Squeaky Fromm, and her name is still here, no matter how much this street has changed. I mean, the house has been torn down. It's a new house here, but her name is still here at what the locals call the Squeaky Pool.
I didn't have anywhere to go. I was on a bench
This
in
is her now.
Venice because my father had kicked me out. We had started to argue. He just didn't want the interaction with me. So I was out, I was out at the beach there all by myself, and here's Charlie. He had been going somewhere else, I think to Hollywood. And instead of going to Hollywood, he stopped off in Venice, walked down the road, and he didn't see me until he got close enough. He said something, and then he said, "So your father kicked you out?" And it was amazing to me.
After everything happened with Charles Manson, Squeaky remained loyal, and she eventually changed her name to Red, a nickname that Charles Manson gave her at some point in the past. She ended up moving to Sacramento after moving around for quite some time, and in 1975, President Ford came to Sacramento for a rally.
Gotta make sure I don't get a strike. Sorry.
And that is where Squeaky really gets into trouble.
President Ford looked down the barrel of a loaded automatic held by a red-haired woman in a long red dress. But the gun didn't go off, and he's all right. The woman was wrestled to the ground by a Secret Service man, and the president was hustled away. She is being charged with attempted murder of the president. She is 26-year-old Lynette Alice Fromm, nicknamed Squeaky. She's a member of the so-called Manson family, followers of the convicted murderer, Charles Manson. Our White House correspondent, Tom Brokaw, was there when it happened this morning, and here is his report from Sacramento, California.
It was mid-morning in Sacramento when President Ford left a hotel to walk over to the state capitol for a meeting with Governor Edmund Brown, Jr. and a speech to the state legislature. This was a political trip, part of the president's campaign to lock up the Republican nominee. So he was shaking hands as he went along, working the crowd, as politicians say. And it was a friendly crowd. Accompanied by aides and Secret Service agents, the president reached for every hand in sight. Suddenly, a young woman holding a gun appeared at the president's side. A Secret Service agent grabbed the gun and wrestled the young woman to the ground as other agents formed a tight protective shield around the president and moved him swiftly to the Capitol.
September 5th, 1975, President Ford is in Sacramento for a rally, and he's walking through the crowd, and Squeaky walks up to him wearing a red robe, kind of like Handmaid's Tale, that kind of bright red fabric with a hood. She walks right up to him, and mere feet, she pulls out a gun and points it at him, and immediately Secret Service agents tackle her to the ground, and he gets rushed off, President Ford. Now she starts screaming, "It didn't go off, it didn't go off," and she swears to this day that she wasn't really there to inflict harm or to kill President Ford. She just wanted to get a message across about saving the redwood trees, I think it is. She ends up getting sentenced life in prison. 1987, Christmas Eve, she escapes.
The search continues in southern West Virginia for Squeaky Fromm, the woman convicted of trying to kill President Ford 12 years ago. She escaped from the federal women's prison last night, but even bloodhounds have not picked up her tracks.
Till a dramatic escape on Christmas Eve of 1987, which was motivated by a disturbing rumor about Manson.
I got a letter that said he had cancer. I called two people. They said that they heard the same thing. I had no way of getting in touch with anybody, and I wasn't going to just stick around. I realized after I escaped that I need him more than he needs me.
And they caught her less than 2 miles away from the prison within 48 hours of her escaping. Eventually, 2009 rolls around, she gets paroled. And instead of being released right away, because of her escape, she has to serve that extra time. Eventually she gets out and she's living, last I checked, somewhere up in the New York area, like New England. School is in today, and I don't want to get any closer than where I'm at right now because there are kids outside playing. But that building that's right across the street, this intersection here, is the Orville Wright Middle School, where Squeaky went to school when she lived here. In fact, it's like 2, maybe 3 blocks away down the street. Now, I walked inside and I talked to the people at the front desk asking for permission to just be in front of the school and show the sign, and they said no. So respecting their wishes, and again, don't want to show any kids, but part of history, man, part of history. Right now we're in a parking structure in downtown Los Angeles, walking over to the Hall of Justice, where during Manson's trial, the followers, the girls, were holding vigil outside, singing songs. We're gonna go to that exact spot. The corner where the Manson family, the Manson girls were singing, is one of those places I've always wanted to visit. And it's just this iconic, whenever you think of Charles Manson and the trials, it's a very striking image. There's both video and photos that were taken here at this street corner, and I'm going to show you guys both and try to line up as much as I possibly can. Right here is the County of Los Angeles Hall of Records, and right across the street, this behemoth building right here is the Hall of Justice. And this is where, well, the trial for Manson took place.
Charles Manson, 36, chose a house at random, tied up the family at gunpoint, then ordered his followers to go inside and commit ritual slaughter.
Feelings towards everything. I feel no bad. I know no bad. Open them. I'm not against you, huh? Are you bitter? Bitter? No. No.
I have a question. Are you guilty of any murders? Are you guilty of anything?
I killed a chicken once.
Any guilty?
No. No.
You're absolutely innocent of any conspiracy to commit murder, or telling anyone to commit murder, or planning it?
I'll plead guilty to the Indians.
Of course, I'm going to show you some video and pictures, but I highly encourage you to go online on YouTube and search for the Manson trial, because there's a whole bunch of footage from the news covering it. Now we gotta be safe. Walk the crosswalk here over to the corner for the Superior Court. Now this building that's right here on the right, we're going to talk about it in just a moment, because there's a photo that you can see this building behind it in the background. As soon as we walk over here, I'm going to start talking about it. So I'm not sure if there's going to be an issue standing outside the courthouse or the Hall of Justice. There's police everywhere. The corner that we're at is North Broadway and Temple. It looks like the 300 block, 300 North. Now you can see this sign in some of the news clips that was shot that day. You see that giant concrete slab to the left of the screen and that pole that's to the right? Well, right between both of those is where back in 1969, the Manson girls were holding vigil for Charlie while he was on trial inside this building. And the song that they were singing in this clip is Dancing Clown on the Wall. But it happened right here. This is insane.
Whisper words, you come to me. This song I sing for all to see. The past is gone and now I know. Inside this cell, nowhere to go. Oh, love, my love, look at your love. A dancing clown upon the wall is calling all to City Hall. Your grave is mine, oh, can't you see? It's your own kind to be free. The truth I've known, you are the king. My love, this world to you I bring. You know, you can be free. It's at your kind, and come to me.
Well, of course, a lot will change over time. But keep in mind, this happened back in 1969, and at the time of recording this, it's 2022. But just imagine, pretty much right where I'm standing is where the news crews would have been standing with their cameras. A crazy history, right?
Sandy, you've probably been here as long as anybody keeping this vigil, and it now looks that it will come to an end, that they will move the girls and Charlie. What do you girls intend to do?
We'll be here until it gets out. After this trial, there'll be another trial, so they won't move them for quite some time. But we'll be here until he's out, and he is coming out.
What about the girls? What do you feel about the girls?
I love them, and I'm with them wherever they go, in spirit, and they'll also be coming out. Sadie won't be transferred for quite some time because there's that Hinman Shea trial coming up.
But if they do move them to some other place, will you follow?
Charlie will be coming out soon, and they won't be moving him for some time.
I noticed that you all sit in the same attitude with your hands the same way. Is it significant? What does it mean?
We're on our knees. We're giving up.
You're giving up?
Yeah.
Not on Charlie and the girls, though.
No, we're with them. In other words, we give up the system. We're down. We give it to whoever wants to take it. We vex ourselves out of the system, and we give it all up.
I understand that there are some people that are trying to rescue you from time to time.
Oh, the Jesus people. Yeah. Yeah, the Jesus people have, in other words, people see that this is the end, that a revolution's coming, or a lot of big changes are coming. And the Jesus people are slipping into the minds of all the people that are confused and don't know where to go.
Do you feel that the end is in sight and a change is coming also?
Big changes are coming real soon.
You're kind of thinking the same way they are then, aren't you?
Well, everyone you meet talks about it.
You can, even the little old ladies who sit on the corner who have had their welfare checks taken away, and the little old man and all those people, they all come on this corner every day of the week, yelling about revolution and that about the people who are in power better give it up. Nixon better give it up, because if he doesn't, the whole thing's going to be destroyed.
Do you feel that you see a limited segment of life as you sit here, that most of the people that come by here are in trouble?
No, you know what, we see, on this corner we mostly see the people who've been down, for all their lives, because these are the people who are going to court, the black people, the Chicanos, these are the people who spend most of their lives in these courts with their sons going to, jail, and their daughters going to jail. And we see every kind of way of life there is.
Do you think that you might write a book, chronicle your experience here on the corner?
We have a book already.
Do you?
Yeah, it's Charlie's writings, our writings from when we all got together. But people have created an image of us all, and is contrary to that image, and so they want to perpetuate the lie they've created about us. So really nobody really wants the book.
Oh, I think you'll find somebody that wants it. A lot of people. Thank you so much, girls. Nice to talk to you.
Okay.
The video that I just showed you of the 4 girls sitting right next to the slab singing Dancing Clowns on the Wall was taken at the very beginning of the trial. It wasn't until a little bit later on when they actually shaved their heads, and we get some of the most striking images from that time. One of the most famous images of that day was taken pretty much from right about here. There was 2 girls on the left-hand side of the screen, 2 girls on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see that crosswalk, and the building that's behind them is the Los Angeles Superior Court. Man, this is just blowing my mind. It is almost impossible to tell the entire story of the Manson family in one video. Since Jessica and I moved to Hollywood, we've been telling little pieces of the story, like little puzzle pieces here and there, trying to visit as many places as we possibly can. And I'm telling you right now, seeing these places with my own two eyes, feeling the earth underneath my feet, it's pretty surreal.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day.
Do you want to come up now, Alicia, and you go over what you were just talking about? The link is in chat, unless you need me to drop you a new one. It's right there after Sarah said hey to Chaotic.
Hello.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Are you cold?
Oh my God, it is crazy cold here. It's shifting. It's like coming from the west, and it's like the wind is going crazy.
Yeah, the wind is going crazy here too, but we haven't got the cold front like as strong as you guys have yet. We don't until like the middle of the night tonight.
Okay.
But it's still pretty cool out for Florida.
It's crazy cold. I mean, Charlie keeps coming in here asking us if the heat's on. I'm like, put you some socks on. He won't put on socks.
Yeah, my cats are going crazy. Like, they don't know what to do. They want to go outside, but that wind is cold on them, you know? And then they run back inside like, Mom, help.
October Baby said there was protesting back then about peace and rights. October Baby, I'm curious to know, did they get backlash from people like Rap back then? Were there trolls like Rap protesting the protesters? Or is that just modern day absurdity that we have to deal with now?
I deep dived into all of the conspiracy stuff that surrounded it when I was doing my research, you know, on the whole Manson stuff. You can't help but to go down a rabbit hole on YouTube, you know.
You know, Sugar Pot, my husband, I guess would have been, he was born in 1960. I was born in 1970. So during, you know, my junior high and high school, it was the yuppie movement, and everybody was super preppy, and the preppy handbook came out and everything was pink and green, or, you know, these vibrant colors like Wham and George Michael wore, stuff like that. So that was my movement, the Madonna era. And his would have been more the Doobie Brothers. So people like Antifa. I don't know. I'm not even sure I understand Antifa myself. What do you say to that, Alicia? Sugar Pie's asking.
I think that majority, the main members of Antifa are CIA, FBI thrown out there to do what they're doing. And then, of course, like anything that's created and starts to spread, other people believe in what they're doing, and then they join and they follow. So not every one of them are government operated, but I think the majority of them are. Like, that's how it got started. And I think that's why they can get away with what they do, with all the looting and the destruction and the destroying and you know, property and all the stuff that they do. And then they just get a slap on the wrist. And people like Maxine Waters gets up and says, you know, people are angry. Take to the streets and show your anger, your frustration. Like, she's giving them a free pass to do it. So that just even more to me makes me think the government's behind it.
Yeah. October Baby said we had no technology. Life was better, more simple, easier to walk away from high school. Um, Bullshit. I'm born 1950. Where I grew up, there were three factors, but I just floated like I do now. And Sugar Pie says, oh my God, I used to dress like Madonna when I was a wee. I had a beauty spot and everything. Okay, so tell us what you were saying.
Oh, okay. So there's, a conspiracy side of things, like Sugar Pie said that CIA infiltrated what they were doing because they were rubbing elbows with famous people and important people of the day, and were behind a lot of what went on. Um, a lot of people believe that one, but the one that I tend to believe more is, Roman Polanski, during the time that this happened, was in big trouble for the P word and for R-ing underage girls. One,
Well,
one being 13, that was the most popular that he got busted for. The reason he was gone is because of this going on, right? Now, even though Manson was a P himself, because some of the ladies that he had were well underage, the most popular one being 14, he taught that that was wrong, and he was like, when the Q movement came around, the number one thing that they wanted to expose was P, and that the government was all involved in it, and Hollywood was all involved in it, and all that. A lot of the stuff that was said during that movement, a lot's true, but a lot of what was said comes back from Manson days. Things that he was preaching and teaching, things that he saw when he was rubbing elbows with these Hollywood people, and also the sacrifices that were happening and things like that. Um, Things that those Hollywood people were involved with, including your Danny from the Beach Boys, you know. And he was like, holy, these people I want to be like, I want to have careers like, that everybody looks up to, are in some really nasty things. And he taught all of his family that stuff, and in a way that he said he was going to be against it. They were going to stand, up to it. They were going to put it out there. They were going to tell the world, because we know he was angry that he didn't get the deal that he wanted with them.
Yes. It was a
So,
record deal, and
right.
he didn't get picked up by their record company or something like that, and he was real pissed off about it. So he went
Yeah.
back and he showed them that they should have signed him.
Yeah, because they promised him, they promised him that they were going to do it. He was going to be the next biggest star. He thought he was about to be rich and be able to take care of his whole family off of that. And then they didn't do it. So then he made it a mission that he was going to expose them all. They were all evil, they were all dirty. And he told all of his family this and got them really involved with it. So it's alluded to, allegedly, with comments that he made and comments that some of the women made and stuff, that he was going to he by killing Sharon Tate and her baby, they were saving the baby because the baby was going to be sold into the Hollywood elite P ring, because that's what Polanski was so involved in. Polanski ends up getting off. I mean, he serves a little bit of time, but nothing like he deserves. And he pretty much ends up getting off because of what happened to Sharon and his baby. Like, they thought, oh my gosh, that's horrible. The man's been through enough. And because of that, he later goes on to offend. And he's got like you can look it up and find press articles and stuff about it through the actual news and stuff too. Up to 45 victims of underage girls. He never
Wow.
stopped because he never had to, you know, really serve the time or anything for his crimes. So, because of what Manson did, as horrible as it was, it did end up putting into the spotlight, with his help of his girls, of what the Hollywood elite was doing.
I didn't realize that he went that young.
And yeah. Yep. So he went to continue making films and living his life. Also, there are some clips of Polanski himself stating that Sharon was having an affair with her best friend that was there the night of the murders.
Oh, wow.
And so he was angry about that as well, too. So it kind of like, here he's having to flee because he's been busted for these horrific crimes. He's mad at his wife because he thinks that she's having an affair with her best friend that's there at the house with her. And he has this relationship with Charlie, right? And then Charlie's people go in and brutally kill her and the guy that she's supposedly having an affair with and the people that are in the house. And then he comes back because, oh my gosh, my wife has been brutally, and my child's been brutally murdered, and my friends. And then he's given a slap on the wrist for his horrific crimes and able to continue working in Hollywood.
And we're talking about Polanski?
Yes, Roman Polanski.
Yeah, I had read where he wasn't he like in France for a long time because he didn't want to be. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. And some of the things that he said to news organizations and statements that he made are just absolutely disgusting. Like, I can't even repeat them, but I'll send them to you later so you can see it yourself.
Okay.
And he even says, you know, everybody's doing it. I'm effing doing it. They're effing doing it. The government's effing doing it. So why are y'all all looking at me like I'm a bad guy? And he's talking about the P word.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So even back then there was a problem in Hollywood, huh?
Yeah. And then you look at like the surroundings of the people of the time. Well, Harvey Weinstein's been busted.
Right.
But he was buddy back then with them, you know? So
he was just sentenced, wasn't he? Or found guilty.
Right. And he's got another. Yeah, they're going to be adding more onto him soon too. He's got more coming to him soon, which, I mean, he's already in there for life, but people feel like more justice is being served because more of his victims are getting, you know, more years put on him. So, but yeah, Charles Manson, you know, he was able to prove to his girls, to his family and stuff, that this was going on and that they were going to do this revolution, you know. Now he was also really racist, and he had that whole thing that the government was going to do a civil war in our country where black people were going to rise up against white people, you know, all this kind of stuff that he told them too. And he used what the Black Panthers were doing to prove it to them. Like, everything he said had a bit of truth to it, but he like fear mongered them all to death and then gave them solutions of how he was going to save it all. Like, he was going to be the one that was going to get them through everything, and the whole world would praise him for exposing all of this stuff, and they really believed him.
What's the purpose of CIA?
The Central Intelligence Agency?
Yeah, why do they do all these things?
Oops. Hopefully I didn't knock myself.
Why are there so many conspiracies that they're doing these things?
Well, they're involved in just about absolutely everything, you know, that goes on worldwide, not just here. But my personal opinion is that they're the people that are behind like Bohemian Grove and Bilderberg Group, and that are have a plan for this new world order and the way that they want things to run and the way they want things to be, and they do whatever they need to do to make it happen. Like currently in the news right now, the JFK file thing that they've been promising to release, but they only release like redacted bits and pieces here and there. Well, a whistleblower has come out to Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson verified this whistleblower's information that CIA is who killed JFK. And like a lot of people always thought, the Oswald guy is a patsy.
Okay.
So why did CIA kill a standing president? Except for the fact that he kept coming out and speaking about the shadow government.
I've heard people talk about that recently.
Yeah, it's current on the news. Like if you were to turn on, you know, Fox News tonight, they're going to be talking about it tonight when they do their shows. It's like a big deal right now.
Yeah. Well, Sugar Pie says, God, yeah, the elites are all a bunch of freaks. It's because of them we have a problem with pedos. Look at them infiltrating the LGBT movement. Now there's at every protest with their pedo flag. Yeah, they're trying to mainstream it as another letter, aren't they? Just add another letter.
Well, people have been saying for years that's the next big thing that they're going to push on us. And then they were all called crazy conspiracists because we, believed that was going to happen. But they've already, everything else became legal and stuff. And it's like they're going to push and they're going to push. We all know that they're doing this stuff behind the scenes. I'm not even going to say allegedly because it's been proven time after time again that they are. So that seems to be the next thing that they're going to want to push. And then it was, 2016? That lady went on TED Talk and she said that it's just another sexual preference. Like we should not, ageism, we should be bigots for, saying that it's wrong, that love is love and all this. So we knew it was coming and it's here. That's
October Baby says, I remember when some discussions about Polanski and Manson not getting his record deal, but that's not an excuse for murder within the normal society. We were not into all the conspiracy things rarely spoken about.
Right. Well, and a lot of things take years to come out too. Like you have to put the whole pieces of the puzzle together, and a lot of times that takes years to happen. Because when something first happens, of course, you're just going to go by what the media reports on and tells you. That's all you have, Now with this, true crime community and all that, we tend to find things out a lot faster than we did back then when we all just watched the TV and heard what the news said.
Yeah, I remember the news being on first thing in the morning, in the afternoon, and then at night. But I also remember we got a morning paper, an afternoon paper. Seemed like we got the Sentinel came in the afternoon, and then we had our morning paper, and then we had our Saturday paper, and then our Sunday paper was huge. But we did get 2 papers a day here.
Right. But you never really saw a lot of like what investigative journalists were, discovering and stuff. Like we didn't know. We only just had to go off just what mainstream media told us.
She says we were more afraid of being bombed and getting radiation poisoning at 12 and dying.
Yeah, they pull some stuff like that every decade, it seems like. Because I was an 80s child, and I remember also being afraid of being bombed and us having to get under our desk and cover our heads because of
That's
Desert
right.
Storm. Yeah, they would love putting people in fear.
Sugar Pie says, yes, did you see the video with all the pedos singing, we're coming after your children? No, Sugar Pie, where's that at? October Baby says, against government within my life pattern, even more wealthy people I knew. So getting back to the topic here of Manson and him manipulating young girls to murder for him, to steal for him. Do y'all see that here on YouTube? A lot of the that sort of culture,
It's the
that
same type.
mentality.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same type of mentality, just not as extreme because everybody's in different states and separated and connected through a phone or a computer screen. You know,
Yeah.
Manson used a lot of sex magic and stuff, which of course really binds a person almost to a spiritual level, you know, to listen and be in love with him, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then of course his word salad that sounds so smart at times, and you know,
Right. You think he's being poignant.
yeah, he'll give a 30-minute speech. If you know, if you're like looking at him and his charisma and the way he does it and stuff, I can see people being like, oh my gosh, this guy's brilliant. But then if you're not and you see him, you know, the way he really is, and you realize he only said like a sentence in that 30 minutes that actually made any sense, you know?
You know, and it's almost like you're stepping inside his mental illness with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you see Barbara Walters doing that and Katie Couric as they both interview him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that they're looking at him through that way. Like, man, this guy, poor thing, you know, he's mentally messed up. But they try to show him that they care about what he's saying, you know, that they're listening, and he just keeps rambling and going. And I'm not going to say that he's always wrong or always crazy. He's not. Sometimes he does say truths, but it just takes him forever to do it.
I made a short of him being interviewed back in the 60s when he was still young. And they asked him, do you think you'll get the electric chair? He said, no, I knew I wouldn't get the electric chair. And they said, are you afraid of dying? He goes, no, I'm afraid of living.
Mm-hmm.
I have felt that way.
Yeah,
I have felt that way very recently. So I can see myself being pulled in to someone like him because he's charismatic, because he kind of had a cute face when he was younger. You know, his eyes were starry-eyed, and with the music, the drugs, you know, his charisma, I could totally see, you know, how that happens, you know, and before you know it, you're riding along on your way to a killing. You know what I mean?
the
So,
constant love bombing that he did, he was always love bombing them, making them feel special, you know, telling them that he's going to protect them, he's got their backs, nothing's going to happen to them under him, you know.
Patricia Krenwinkel was not very attractive. And they said that he would just go on and on about how beautiful she was. And she had never gotten that kind of attention before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she was this bigger than life figure to Squeaky. He was just this bigger than life superhuman to her. You know, they even said she said he thought he had psychic powers.
Well, he said it
Gosh.
he did. Yeah.
So, you know, here you go. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he claimed that he got messages from above, you know, and
That God spoke directly to him.
right.
And they would be tripping on acid, and he would get up on this crucifix that he had made at the Spawn Ranch and would, you know, reenact the hanging of Jesus Christ. And it was, I'm sure, blood and everything. And there you are on LSD too. I can imagine that leaving quite an impression. Emotion is what he was feeding off of. He was manipulating their emotions too, heightening it and then release, heightening it and then release. A lot of that.
Yeah, and he would take very low doses, so they would
Yeah,
all
so
be
he
way,
stayed in control.
yeah, so he could controlling them the whole time. Yep.
Let's see, what's Manson's history? Did he go what? Did he go to uni or anything like that?
Manson's history was very, very sad. Like, you understand in a way why he became what he became.
His mother was a prostitute, right? Drug addict.
She was a drug addict prostitute with mental issues herself, paranoid schizophrenia. His dad, well, was pretty much out of the picture because his last name was actually Maddox, right? And then took his stepdad's last name.
It's very sad because it sounded like he was not wanted. And he was a little guy. I don't know if y'all noticed when they were walking him in, he was arrested. He stood like 5'8". He was a very small guy.
Yeah, he was a small guy, not neglected a lot. No respect for women because of what he saw his mom be like and things that she did. Which is why his first big endeavor that he tried to do was be a pimp.
Yeah, I heard them call him that.
Yeah, he tried to be a pimp and run a prostitution ring, but he wasn't making the money like he thought he would off of it. He wasn't getting the success that he wanted. So he ended up going to petty theft more and scamming. That was, the second thing he tried to do, and was more successful with that. And then ultimately getting the other people to get crimes for him. So he thought in his mind that he would never go down for anything. They would all go down for it. And then last was his music career. That was his last big thing he really tried to go for. He wanted to be famous so bad. He wanted to be loved by everybody because he was never loved as a child. Every time he got locked up, no one would get him out. There was nobody to come bail him out or be there for him. He had nowhere to go. In one interview, he even says that came time for him to be released, and they wouldn't release him because he had nowhere to go.
So he was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, November 12th, 1934, Charles Miles Maddox. And then he died. It's so funny how you die right around your birthday, November 19th, 2017, at 83. That's a long life for a mean SOB in Bakersfield, California.
He died the day before my birthday.
He had a spouse, Rosalie and Leona, 2 children, 9 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder.
They think that he might have more children out there, but they don't know it as a fact. But it's reported that he might possibly have more than the 2.
They call it murder by proxy.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see how many members of the family there were. Let's see what his personal life says about his mom. He was involved in Scientology.
Well, sort of, but not really. He did follow Ron Hubbard, R.L. Hubbard, or L.R. Hubbard?
L. Ron Hubbard,
L.
yeah.
Ron Hubbard, yeah. He did follow him for a while and think that his ideas on things were brilliant. He was impressed by his way of manipulating people and all of that. But ultimately in the end, he thought the guy was a loony and that everything was crazy.
There's something else. I'm going to look this up real quick for Sarah. She asked how many members there were in total.
in one of the documentaries I watched recently, they touched on that with his relationship
He
with.
had 100 followers, Sarah. It said the group consisted of approximately 100 followers.
And they weren't all women.
habitually used. I'm sorry, what?
They weren't all women, mostly.
No. It said who lived in an unconventional lifestyle with habitual use of hallucinogenic drugs such as LSD. Most were young women with middle-class backgrounds, many of whom were attracted by the hippie culture and communal lifestyle, then radicalized by Manson.
Manson claimed that he mostly just smoked weed, that he only used a little LSD here and there. He swears that he never used anything outside of those two things.
So what do y'all think? Let's see. Dark Delight says, checking how things are going. Haven't been around since yesterday. Can't stay for now because, okay. Thanks for popping in. We appreciate it. You know, there's so much information about him. I've been watching mostly about the women. I was trying to focus on them and how it happens, because people say, you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, the Tiger family, you know, picking on us about our cult Tiger family and all that. And, you know, if they hadn't been picking on us about that, would we have looked introspectively?
Well, I eventually did research anyways, because as he was, you know, wanting me to be more part of everything and stuff, and I was seeing that certain things didn't add up, things that were being said weren't being done, I would have looked into it anyways, because that's just how I am, you know. I'm like research. And then I started seeing things.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. Cash App. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. I started seeing things that were just outright lies myself, you know, or I was told one thing and then I would, you know, see something completely different. And then I think the first thing I found was that wrestler guy that did those videos, and I seen him steal all that money and get arrested on the video and stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. He told me he's never been arrested, you know, and that was the first thing for me. So before, you know, ever watching Jimbo or any of that, I already started thinking something's not right here, you know.
Shasta, that is exactly a good point. You know what? If he would just put up some sort of disclaimer in the beginning and lets you know that I'm playing a character like I do. It's on my back page. Gypsy's a character. This witchcraft book is not something that I entertain. That's not part of my life. It's a character. This crystal ball is part of my character, a persona. I don't expect you to become a gypsy or become, you know, proficient in witchcraft or exorcise demons. I don't expect you to do that. And I think that when he steps outside that and has expectations of his onlookers, that's when it becomes more of being an actor. He's wanting us to not go in Jimbo's chat, or he will not allow us. Right now, I am blocked in Ernie's chat because I am in Jimbo's chat. Is that not the stupidest thing in 2022 for a 52-year-old? It is extremely stupid and bizarre, okay? It's controlling, and it has no place in society. So that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. I know that he's an entertainer. I know that he's an actor, but he needs to disclose that to his subs, because he has subs that are willing to slit their wrist for him today, right here, right now.
And
okay. When he said that he was going to leave YouTube a year ago, there was a lady who's still a follower who threatened to kill herself if he did. Okay. I'm not gonna out her, but we all know who she was. So there's that. That's taking it a little too far. That's when you're not an entertainer. You become a what would you say? I mean, what you're taking on a whole, you know,
It's
when
just,
when you're expecting people to slit their wrist for you.
yeah, and it's just scamming too, because no one knows what's truth and what's fake. And when you're saying, I have nowhere to stay, it's freezing cold, I really need y'all's help, blah, blah, and you're collecting a bunch of money while you're sitting in front of the fireplace at mom's house. I'm just using an example. I'm not saying this happened,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Right.
that's lying. That's scamming. That's not entertainment.
Right.
You know.
And Shasta, I've never given him money either. I've never given him money either.
I did.
But if you're going to a show, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give him money? If you see him as an entertainer, if that's your argument, if you see him as an entertainer and he's an actor, you just went and watched a show. It just happened to be at the luxury of your living room or your bedroom, wherever you're sitting. So why wouldn't you offer him money to give you free entertainment? Would be bizarre, wouldn't it? Who has free time to write a show, produce a show, edit a show, and then go live with a show and dedicate this much time to a show if you're not willing to pay $5 for it? That's bizarre, in my opinion. But you'll go pay Hollywood 20, and you got to go and get in your car. You've got to go in. You've got to get popcorn. You've got to sit on a sticky floor or put your feet on a sticky floor. You've got people talking all through the show. Why wouldn't you pay him if you see him as just an entertainer?
Right. There's nothing wrong
So
with it.
you're contradicting yourself there. Go ahead, Alicia.
I was just agreeing with you. There's nothing wrong with donating.
Absolutely nothing wrong. Why would I do this for free? I mean, I have other things I could be doing. I mean, you've got to cut, edit, produce, upload, pay StreamYard. This is not free. And
Right.
to think it is not real reality. That's not reality.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on there. I would say, though, difference between talking about Ernie and Manson would be that he never did lie to his people about his past, and this, you know, all the times he was in jail and different things that had happened to him that he caused. You know, now he would say that it's the system, you know, and that everything he does is because of the system, and they're all corrupt and they mistreated him and things like that. But he still didn't lie about where he came from and who he was and the crimes he
Right.
did. Yeah.
Right. Um, he was blaming the man for everything. But yet he kept running into the man's arms, going to jail.
Right.
You know what he said? I fear death. I wonder, you know, when he stepped outside the jail cell, how big did the world seem to him? And that's why he thought about, you know, he thought, I can't do this. You know, and sometimes they say repeat offenders are repeat offenders because they can't function outside. They've gotten so institutionalized that that's where they feel safe and comfortable is, you know, they know that lifestyle. They don't know this out here. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it seemed like he either wanted one extreme or the other. He either wanted to be in jail where he felt safe and secure and what he knew, or he wanted to be extremely famous and rich where he could live up on a mountain somewhere and be able to afford that lifestyle, nobody bother him, you know, and do his own thing, but no in between. Like, he wasn't going to go work a basic job and struggle and, you know, all of that. That wasn't happening. So it was one extreme or the other.
Hold on a second. I'm going to get something to drink. Y'all go ahead and talk. I'm going to be right back.
Okay. Well, I can't see chat because I'm on my phone.
I've
But
got my cotton mouth.
what you guys are saying. So I guess I'll just ramble until she gets back. But I do see a lot of similarities. I actually wrote down some notes going through. Like, he was, he befriended a lot of motorcycle gangs. He used music to put women in trance. He was known for always pointing that one finger. That was his authority, the way of showing authority. When he got really frustrated or felt like his masculinity was at risk or something, he slapped himself in the face or punched his own face a lot. People said that he was the king of diversion and gaslighting. He tried to build an army. He actually called them his army. His family, his followers were called his family, his army, and his team. He was highly racist. And then he would make up totally radical, like, fear-mongering stories to get his followers thinking that they need him, that they can't do things without him. And they were always on some mission, always, to change the world.
Sorry, I was getting caught in my. Thank you. Well, you brought up a really good point. He used music to, that is like the perfect, and they even say Satan was the angel of music.
Mm-hmm.
How that can totally heighten emotion, especially if you're on drugs. Music and all that, you're taking all that into, that's the perfect recipe to brainwash, especially a young, impressionable girl, right?
Yeah, they use it for putting in trance, for hypnotizing, for memorization things. Like, we can all agree that we remember things. We can remember so many songs, but we can't remember telephone numbers, things like that.
Gypsy, when you get back, tell Alicia, push the chat button on her phone and then she can see chat.
Oh, if I push chat and then I go to comments. Okay, gotcha. I didn't know that.
Sugar Pie says, well, you could say that society is also a cult where majority rules. So it's accepted. Just a thought. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That's why you'll hear me talk a lot on my channel about being really independent. Like, I think our whole political system is a cult, like this left-right paradigm thing.
Right.
It becomes like almost a religion to some people. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Mars House.
Shasta says, I cannot begin to name friends who have been scammed by men on the internet that have lost thousands and thousands of dollars being scammed. Being a woman who, I was drawn to Ernie because of, one, the Summer Wells story, two, the Predator Hunter Nation, and three, because he was picked on. And so I can totally see how that could happen, Shasta, because it's all perception. We perceived that he was being bullied. And so we all rallied behind him as a team. And, a lot of people sent him money for that plight,
Well, that's what Manson did too, because he made this family believe that he was just trying to get by in life, and the daggum system wouldn't leave him alone. Every time he turned around, they were arresting him for something, and he was just trying to survive. He was so picked on by the man.
Right. Right. And creating the sense of urgency would be, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back. It's like having a farewell tour as much as Fleetwood Mac has, right? They have a farewell tour like every year, it seems like. You need to get out of the left versus right paradigm, definitely.
Yeah.
Mars, no, we haven't lost internet, but we have lost power on and off. That and Gator was going to go live at 3, so I was trying to go before her. I am talking about, Shasta says I'm talking about, Shasta, by the way, was my favorite drink in the 70s. I wish they would bring Shasta back. That was like my favorite. It wasn't too sweet, and it didn't hurt my teeth when I drank it. Yeah, her real life friends have been hurt. I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible to get, you get whispered sweet nothings when you're down, and it's so easy to get taken, when you're feeling ugly and unappreciated, for someone to tell you, you're beautiful and I wouldn't take you for granted if you were mine, and things like that is all it takes sometimes. You named your dog Shasta. I love that. There was Shasta and Fresca and Tab. Yeah.
Shasta was my first dog I ever had's name, but I didn't want to say that because I didn't know if that was her actual name and I didn't want to hurt her feelings.
I've seen on Dr. Phil a lot of the women getting scammed on here. Jimmy says, I lost power for hours off and on, 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 all night long. My oxygen machine, the alarm kept going off and I couldn't breathe. That's how I knew the power went off. Oh, I bet that was annoying all night long. That's how it's done here, flickered. You're South Carolina, I'm North Carolina. So yeah, the storms are coming, they're saying. It's going to be like 9 degrees when we wake up.
I'll be praying for Jimmy. Hey,
and it's snowing at the college at Appalachian.
Gypsy, do you remember back in the early 2000s when you would go to the mall and a lot of stores were selling shirts with Manson's face on them and different?
Yes, I was just telling Ken about that.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get a cut of that?
If he would still have been alive, so you would think he would have had to. I don't know how they could have done it. But I mean,
that put money on his books.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's something to that because, scamming is in the last 15, 20 years has just gotten out of control. Like, scam everything, emails, phone calls, just everything. And yet people were praising this guy who is a master manipulator, scammer.
They had Gacy clown shirts and the pictures that you could get at the fair of him in his clown makeup. Some of that stuff he painted himself. He's an artist. So I wondered then, was he getting that money? Was he getting a kickback?
I don't know, but what does it say about society that they glorify people like this?
I don't know. When the 80s came, it was like the horror thing started, people into the House of Thousand Corpse and all that. You know what I mean? It seemed like horror was a big deal, and it's kind of stayed. I guess I don't know. It is like glorifying mass murders,
Mm-hmm.
I just lost my 14-year-old pit bull about an hour ago. Her name. Oh, put prayers in the chat for Erica. I am so sorry.
Erica, that's horrible. And
I'm so sorry. 14. That God gave you a long life with that dog.
I know that's got to be devastating. Your
What kind of dog do you have?
I don't have a dog currently. I have cats.
I got a cat now. I had a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, we're not allowed to have dogs in my HOA.
We can't have them here either. Chaotic, I was just going to test to see how you're surviving.
Yeah, how are you doing, Chaotic? Are you a popsicle? I hope the weather doesn't stop my son from being able to come down because I was supposed to go up and have Christmas with them, but we couldn't financially do it. So my son said he's going to come down here and be with us Monday, but he woke up this morning to it being 9 degrees and the roads being frozen. So
wow. So y'all are getting cold weather too. Wow. How far are you from water?
I've got water all around me, everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't drive a couple miles and there not be another lake.
Wow. I would love that. In the summer, do you sit outside to eat?
No, more in the spring or in late fall. In
Oh,
the
okay.
summer, it's so hot and humid.
Let's see where I'm behind here.
She's got.
We still have power, so I'm doing okay, bundled up in a blanket. Erica said thank you. She had heart failure and the dreaded C word. October, baby, my truck is out of gas. I'll do good to make it to the gas station. I don't have no friends or family to go to anyway for Christmas. We'll try to go live on Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad. I know how I feel. Lost one of my dogs a couple years ago. So I know you're needing hugs, and then lots of love and hugs. Erica, I'm really sorry. My last dog got sick. And we discovered too late she had the C also. Only got a couple of days after finding out. The pain is devastating. Yeah, lots of prayers there.
Yeah, I hope that a few people go live on Christmas so that way those that aren't with, can't get to their family or have family around can spend some time with their YouTube family.
Yeah, it'd be neat if we could like do a virtual table and eat with them.
And sing Christmas carols.
Yeah.
Maybe play some games.
That'd be fun. We should come up with something.
And Jimmy can sing too. He can come up and sing some
Yeah,
Christmas
that'd be
carols.
fun. Maybe we could all go to the liquor store. Get some apple schnapps.
October baby sounds like my dad. He's already snowed in, so he can't come either. And I was all upset about it. He's like, it's just another day.
Erica says, thank you all so much. I love you guys. I still have 2 pitties left, and one is also 14. The other is 6. It is heartbreaking. I'm sorry that happened. It's like watching our kids grow up. I mean, when I look at Facebook memories, I want to throw my phone. I mean, I can't take it sometimes. I skip it sometimes because I can't, you know what I mean? I'm never going to see that little kid again, you know?
Yep.
Hurts.
It really does.
They're all grown up. They won't come run and jump in my arms ever again.
And it really, everybody told you when you were young to, suck in every moment because it's all going to go by fast. And you're like, yeah, but you're thinking, 18 years is a long time. And now it's happened and you look back and you're like, God, where did the time go?
Yeah, no. When I think of 20 years ago, which would be when I met my husband, that seems like just last year. And when I realized that that was 20 years ago, that's how quick the next 20 are going to feel.
Yeah. But as a mom, you miss like when they were little and they get so excited about everything.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do or really what you give them. They're just so excited and everything and just brings so much joy to you. Now, like mine are all teens and it's, very rare that you get any kind of like excitement like that out of them anymore. Mostly you're going to get mood. That's what you usually get from them. It's just moodiness.
Sugar Pie says, I'll be around on Christmas. I have no big plans this year. My kids are over Christmas, too old. Sugar Pie, you look so young. I can't believe that. Erica, how's the other dogs? Are they pining for the other dog? Sarah says that's what I have. A very excited boy. My favorite day of the year. He
Aw.
keeps saying Christmas time.
Aw.
That's fantastic. I'd
That's
love to meet him.
wonderful.
Will you ever cam up, Sarah? You think?
She can always get out the Gumby costume.
Yeah. I paid $6 for Cax head of cauliflower, $4 Thanksgiving. It's ridiculous. She paid $6 for a head of cauliflower.
This old man was in front of me earlier at the Dollar General store. He had 2 small packs of Hershey's Kisses, and his total came out to like $6.48 or something like that. And he said, "What? Over?" he said, "Over $6 for some Hershey's Kisses." He says, "I buy these every year for my wife for Christmas, and I've never spent more than $3." He said, "That's double the price." And he started crying. I felt so bad, so I stepped up and, I went ahead and I just slid my card for him, and I paid it.
Right.
And I said, "You have a Merry Christmas with your wife." And he turned around and he said, "Oh, God bless you. She's got cancer in her neck, and this is her last Christmas."
Oh, wow. I'm glad you did that then.
But my gosh, I mean, he had 2 small little bags of Hershey's Kisses, and it was $6 and something.
Yes, Sarah, you could be Gumby like Rap does Marshmallow. That's right. Great idea. Sugar Pie, they are very quiet. They definitely know it's going to be so hard. And one of my cats was very bonded to her. So it's going to be hard for him too. She mothered him like a baby. Aw. Sugar Pie, well, thank you. That's what my doctor told me on Tuesday. He said good genetics. Yeah, you look so young. I could be Gumby. Yeah, I read that. He's telling his subs to get a list of Jimbo subs. That alone is taking things too far. Right. I mean, I think it was Rever that's come out with a video called Thou Shalt Not Be in the Chat of Thine Enemies. What, she's so right. I mean, what kind of crap is that, y'all? I mean, they say, "Oh, I don't care what chat you go in," and then they're going, "I read their comments. I screenshotted their comments." Well, I wouldn't put it on the World Wide Web in a chat if I didn't expect you to read it.
Right?
There's no point in screenshotting it and, "Ooh, you got me. You got me. You got me posted on the World Wide Web," and I knew that when I was doing it. I mean, I don't think any of this is secret chat, for God's sakes. I mean, isn't it right? I mean,
right. I don't know. It's just all so silly.
It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre, and it's not like this everywhere else. So there you go. It's the people that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people need a mental evaluation, or
just like 777 being a classist, talking about how she hates people that shop at Walmart and she hates people that don't keep a clean house, but she supports Mama T. What the hell are you talking about? She couldn't contradict herself more.
There's
from
lot.
one live to the next.
Yeah, there's a lot of
you don't know what personality you're going to get. So,
anger management, mental evaluations, and some people just need a hug. Like, I think they just need some love.
Or a Milky Way. I don't know. I don't know. I just take it all with a grain of salt and just shake my head and go on about my day.
Yeah, maybe they need to listen to some heavy metal and get in their car and scream.
Because in the grand scheme of things, I will never meet these people. They will never be my employer, and they will never be my Jesus. So, wow, you know what I'm saying? They put themselves in in a category that's just unrealistic. I mean, why do you think I give two shits? Right? Anyway, let's see. Definitely have you saw what magpies or monkeys or whales and dolphins do when they have a death. Magpies have a death ritual. Wow, that's very neat.
They're very emotional. That's
The elf costume. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Prayers and much love, everyone. Feeling sad. Don't go if you're feeling sad, Jimmy. Hang out with us. I've been feeling sad all week too. Don't go. Keep me
me too.
company. That'll just make you sadder. Unless you're going to watch Gunsmoke. Then I understand.
Holidays can be very joyful and they can also be really sad. I mean, every year is sad for my husband and I. We both lost close loved ones right around Christmas. So not only do we not have them, but we have the memory of losing them.
Yeah. Shasta, absolutely. I want you here. I want everyone here. I'm not going to alienate anybody. I don't take it seriously. That's all I'm trying to say. I still watch him, even though he won't let me chat. I mean, I still chat with him on Facebook. So, I mean, I don't know why I'm blocked in his chat, and I don't know why he's, paranoid on YouTube. I have no idea. There's nobody out to get him. No one's trying to steal his subs. We're all still, fans, if that's what you want to call it. We're just sort of not sure what some of his movements are about. That's all. To me, it's still like a family member. That's where I got my start. So that's where I met all my friends. I mean, to me, like I said, right here, Shasta, I'm still a tiger at heart. I mean,
As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who you watch or who you support or who you follow. I mean, I don't run your life, and if you're a good person, I'm going to like you despite. So,
yeah, Jimmy, hang out with us. You'll feel better if you hang out with us and chat with us. You could play a song if you wanted to. Get your guitar out and sing us a song. There's Fluffy. Hey, you missed the whole show.
does Jim play guitar too? I didn't know he'd play the guitar.
I thought he did. Do you not? I might be mistaken. I know that he sang a country song one night. Maybe it was playing in the background. He sang along. That might be it. So that'll be funny, Sarah, if you dress up and go live, and especially for Christmas, that would be a lot of fun.
Hey, Fluffy, did you have any balls today?
Yeah. I just hope you don't believe his nonsense.
My husband looked at me like, what in the world? I said, it's an inside joke.
Yeah. Yeah, she goes last night whenever she was live with the Liberators. She goes, I don't care if they laugh at, the licking balls thing, with my skit from SNL. I'm still going to call him that. And I'm like, and we're still going to laugh at you for it. And we're still going to make fun of it, sweaty balls.
That's what I do with just about all of the hate thrown.
Exactly. Just laugh at it because it couldn't be more absurd.
Sometimes it's just really hilarious.
Yeah, just like when she doxed me, it's like, I hope y'all send me a Christmas card. And I got some. I did. I got some. It turned into a plus, and Charlie got to decorate the living room with him. So thanks for all those who sent me a Christmas card this year. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, someone last night said maybe that's why Ernie's asking for all Jimbo subs, is so he could send out Christmas cards.
For $3. Oh, man. Yeah, I love mustard with my balls. That's funny, Fluffy. That's so funny. I had to edit that out of the final cut because it got a strike from NBC Universal.
Oh my goodness.
I know. That's so wow. And the last time when I had the what's this what is it, pathological liar? Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. And I went to college with Morgan Fairchild. Yeah. That got I had to cut that out of another one another live that I did about pathological liars. But that was perfect, for what I was the point I was trying to get across. He sounded just like him.
I think that once you get monetized, you can keep that stuff up. They'll just send the revenue gained to them.
I won't get a strike.
Isn't that how it works, guys? Like you can play things and stuff like that. It's just that they get all the revenue and you don't. I think so. But when you're not monetized and you're not getting revenue, then they'll strike you because there's no money being made from playing it.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. Sugar pie. Oh, wait, let me go up here. Sarah, one of the ladies who were sticking up for you and is now getting major problems from 666, SG, and the usual crew. Shaking my head, it's a shame. Sugar pie, really, for coming in my chat. I can't help if someone hates me for no reason, but I have stuck up for her regardless, so that sucks. I don't know why the other person is hateful. I've done nothing to them. Who are y'all talking about?
I don't know.
The ladies who were sticking up for you and is now getting major problems. Nobody should tell anyone on YouTube where to go. Please stand up if it happens. Make a stand. Yes, stand up. Stand up for your rights. That's right. That's right.
I don't really want to go where I'm not wanted, so but I'm going to go where I do feel like that I'm wanted and where I can talk to people.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I tried to explore someone named Sarah's page yesterday, not our Sarah, it was a different Sarah. And boy, right away, she alienated me. She said, what are Ernie's parents like? And I said, no one else was answering. I said, his mother is mentally ill and his father was abusive. I don't believe that. Why did you ask your chat if you were going to discredit us? And then it was, I can't remember what else it was, but I was like, yeah, see you later. Unsub. Right. Nobody should be reprimanded for visiting others. That will ultimately stunt chat growth. Oh, all they're doing is cutting their own sub growth in half. And, they say they don't care about sub growth. They're lying. They wouldn't be here. They wouldn't worry about monetization. They're just troll channels. And that's what you got to accept, that some channels are just troll channels and they thrive off trolling and belittling. And that's what a troll is. Don't go over there and expect them to act Christ-like because they're not going to. They're going to act like trolls because they're trolls.
Some are honest about it. Some are just
her channel is not about true crime. Her channel is about trolling.
Yeah.
Thriving off trolling. And that's it. That's all it is. That is the content. There's no show written. There's nothing edited. It's just I go live and I make fun of people all day long. That's the whole point and premise of that channel. So,
and when they're honest about
that, when you go there, right?
Yeah, and they tell you that that's what they are and that's what they're doing, then people should respect that and honor that and expect that from them and not get so upset when they do what they say that they're going to do.
Right. I go where I'm not wanted just to say hello. No, I'm blocked in 4 channels, Fluffy. My one feeling is hurt. It's so funny. One channel in particular tries to control subs in other channels, though, which is disrespectful to the other channel. Well, if you allow someone to control you that you're never going to meet, and all their importance in the world is they run a YouTube channel, then and you pay them to tell you what to do with your membership, then you kind of, you get what you deserve, in my opinion. Stop going there if you're told what to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go where I'm told what to do. Fuck you. You know what I mean? When I gave that story the other day about my mother, I remember beat my ass with a hairbrush one time because I walked around the block with a girl I wasn't supposed to. And she wound up drinking and smoking a joint in front of me with a neighborhood boy. The point of that story was I wasn't supposed to go, but I went anyway. Even my mom couldn't control me at 5 years old. I go where I want to go. God bless USA. You know what I'm saying? So anyone trying to intimidate me, it doesn't work. I'm going to laugh at it because it looks so bizarre.
Yeah, well, their hopes is to intimidate you and scaring you, saying, oh, everybody, let's attack this person because they're over in so-and-so's channel. Let's all make this person absolutely miserable.
That's following the click.
And then they hope that it'll scare you to where you'll stop going to the channel,
It doesn't scare me.
It doesn't scare me either. I could care less.
Doesn't scare me in the least. Doesn't scare me. I lived with Satan himself in the 80s. It's going to take a hell of a lot more than these bitches to scare me. Yep. Stokes County. Yeah. So anyway, I lived with a paranoid schizophrenic all through my childhood. Let's play some mind games. I'm all about it. I will win. I had siblings I had to play mind games with, a mother I had to play mind games with, and a few exes. So I got that mastered too.
I just had a sociopathic, narcissistic father. So if I could live through all of his abuse mentally and physically, these people don't scare me.
All I know is every time Southern Girl talks shit about me, my sub count goes up. So I couldn't care less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how Ernie.
Even if she says gypsy sola and she talks like that, it doesn't make it any more important to me. And fuck up. Okay, we get that you enunciate the word properly. So that's what they sound to me. They sound like that to me. They over-exaggerate it.
Yeah. Anytime you bully someone, everybody's going to run to that person's channel to see what it is that you're talking about. So it's, it's publicity.
Hell yeah, it's publicity. Just like, what's her name? Markle. All these, they give themselves bad press to keep themselves relevant. So trash me all you want to, talk about me licking balls all you want to. It's helping me. It's helping me grow.
Everyone has been saying that, the reason
they don't like her. They don't like her talking like that about me. They don't like her spreading bullshit like she does in her hateful tone. I mean, she sounds not stable with her misplaced hatred. We're talking about someone you've never met, and all she did was tell Ernie, you have a rogue mod. So now she's out to see me burn in hell? That's bizarre, y'all. That is like really off kilter.
Well, everybody was just saying earlier that the reason that they found Ernie and then followed Ernie and supported him for so long in the first place is because they all thought that he was being bullied and attacked, or they heard about him on someone else's channel being talked about so harshly, things like that. And then they felt bad for him. So, a mass amount of his following is all people that were there because they thought he was being bullied so much. So that's my point, is like all these channels that are harassing and bullying and trolling another channel, they're just sending a whole bunch of people their way.
Right. That's right. I can't tell you the comments I've gotten for staying out of the drama, the comments I've gotten because of her. It's misplaced anger. You know, she's seeing me as someone that I'm not, like she's projecting. Maybe I remind her of her mother, Cheryl, and she won't contact her and she's taking it out on me. It's bizarre because I did one thing. I told Ernie, you have a mod who is, doing XYZ, and it was her. And to her, that was, oh my God, I'm perfect. How dare you point out a fault? Okay, get over yourself, lady. You're not Jesus. You can tell these creators weren't popular in school. Exactly. And they're trying to have a mean girl club. That's not what the Mean Girl Club looked like when I was in high school. They were all blonde and looked like damn models. They didn't look like that. So
I
you
think
ain't got game. You ain't got game.
Before that, some are just really bitter about something in life. They're full of a lot of anger and a lot of.
Oh yeah, they're totally bitter about something in their childhood. I mean, and they're projecting it here on us.
Yeah, and then they makes them feel validated and important when they've got a whole, 100 people backing up what they say.
But that 100 people are in my chat too. So it's like they think all these people are so loyal to them, and most of them are trolls. I mean, you go look through the list. I don't want a single one of most of them. They're from raps, and most of them are just trolls. They don't offer anything. So go ahead and stay out,
Or it's just people that are just watching it all to be entertained because they don't know anybody personally. So, it's a soap opera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with no plot, with no plot, no ending, no plight, no direction, no purpose, no rhyme, no reason.
Lots of
waste of time.
Repetitive stuff over and over again. Like you can leave for 2 weeks
Over
back.
and over.
Yeah.
Why don't they just go write a show? The reason is they want to be a troll channel. That's why they don't write a show. It's kind of laziness.
Like I said, they're just getting that validation.
It's kind of laziness to just
they're
throw up. If in my opinion, it's kind of laziness to just throw up, this black screen, and you don't even show your face, and you just get on there to gossip about people. Oh, I can go to church and do that and get fed spiritually and in my belly. So I'm not getting any of that, So,
well, for the creator, it's an outlet for all of that anger, hurt, and bitterness. They're not caring about being creative or doing anything of any importance. It's just that outlet for them, a place, online therapy, a place to go and vent, and spew anger, and everybody clap their hands for you.
Chaotic Beauty. She said, I love all my intelligent and authentic subscribers. I don't want or need the ones willing to believe false information, but I welcome most everyone until they are rude to my guest. Hey, Gator, I thought you were going live at 3. I thought you were going live at 3. Everything I'm cooking tomorrow lined up on the bar in order. If someone moves one can, I will throat punch someone. That's hilarious. Yes. Yeah, I don't want a bunch of teeny boppers who are just out here to porn bomb and do dumb stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want, people that are intelligent. I don't want that crap in my chat.
And nothing's more frustrating than trying to talk about a topic you're passionate about, raise awareness or educate, and then you've got this group coming in just talking stupid stuff and acting a fool.
Yeah, so I'm glad I only have 12 people in here right now. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, that's not how I want to grow my channel, is with a bunch of trolls or bots. So, are you going live? That was Tuesday. Oh, I was looking at the wrong day. Okay. So, are you going live at all, Gator?
We love
We
you,
love you too,
Fluffy.
Fluffy.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's her legacy, though, Sugar Pie. That's what, her great children will come back and see. So they'll just see I tried to have a channel and there were people trolling me. They'll see that I tried to, do something productive and there were, weirdos peering in the bushes, wanting to cut my throat.
I have people telling me that other people are saying that I'm not a Christian because I condone Jimbo's actions from 30 years ago.
Nobody condones his actions from 30 years ago, but what in the hell are we going to do about it now?
And would I be the complete opposite of a Christian if I didn't forgive someone for making a mistake 30 years ago and then not?
That's right. Jesus sat at the table with whores.
Right.
That's right.
He's not
whores and drunks
today that he did 30 years ago. He's not that same person anymore on a lot of the things that he did. And I would be the complete opposite of a Christian if I held him accountable. And I mean, the Bible says that Satan is the old accuser. That's what Satan does, is accuse people of their sins.
That's right.
Jesus forgives. So what I think that you know what a Christian is.
Yeah. Let them naysay, because we know the truth. Let them naysay. Yes, he was a kid too. And I had to do something I didn't want to do at 15. So,
Yeah, he was a kid too himself. And like he said over and over.
What the hell do they want him to do about it now, is my point.
Nothing. It's just that they found some juicy gossip on him, so it'll be used over and over and over.
Over and over, and because they have nothing else.
Like I said, 3 months from now, it'll probably still be said and going on.
Yeah.
Right, Sugar Pie. It's the parents' fault. They should be the ones held accountable for allowing it.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's so funny because that true gypsy chick that refuses to show her face, the fake one, she called me a lush, and I'm like, I haven't drank in 20 years, you moron. I smoke weed. Everybody knows I smoke weed. So it was like, she even got that wrong. You're not even paying attention. You can't even troll right. It's ridiculous. Everybody knows I smoke weed.
Well, it's usually those that protest too much and point the finger too hard at someone else that's usually guilty. They have a guilty conscience of doing the same things at some point in their life.
Yeah, that's interesting because her hands are not healthy looking. That's all I'm going to say about that. I have a great clip. Jimbo could absolutely sure. Okay. It's expensive to sue, though, Sugar Pie. So
especially in a defamation slander case. It's very expensive. What was it that I saw? Who was it that said it? Go back.
Yeah, and the girl lied about her age so that she could get married to him. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, Erica. If she were going to marry someone at 12 or 13, whatever the correct age was, thank God it was Jimbo, and it wasn't someone who trafficked her, right? She
Right.
got to marry into a good family.
Of course, Erica, they only ever give part of the story. And that's exactly talking about Satan being the accuser. When he went to stand before God to accuse Job, that's exactly what he did. Only half of the story, only part of the story. But you think, God didn't know what he was doing?
I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse. Think about if she had married someone that was violent and abusive. I mean, she married into a good family.
Right, Fluffy? I haven't met a non-sinner yet either.
That's right. Yeah, they're projecting. They're trying to get us to not look in their closet. That's what it is.
Well, I don't even care to look in their closets. Like, I'm sure there's stuff there. I don't care what they've done as long as they're doing everything in their life now to be the best person that they can be, But obviously, yelling and spewing hate on YouTube daily, sometimes 2-3 times a day, isn't being the best person you can be. Remember when I said to you, like, it blows my mind how people just wake up in the morning and their first thoughts are how they're going to destroy somebody's life today, or how they're going to go on and talk about the sins of someone's past all day long. Like, why? What is wrong with you that you think that way? Is there not something good for your community that you can do and waste valuable time helping somebody instead of tearing somebody down?
Right. Y'all send Charlie a $5 cash app.
Cash apps, Christmas cash apps for Charlie.
Jimmy says, my wife was 15 and she looked like she was 32. At 15, she looked like she was 32. She wasn't living right, was she? It's funny. Yeah, 32. That's funny. That's a good question.
Excuse me.
That's what I'm working on. No judgment. That's right. I ain't trying to judge anybody because God knows I've made so many mistakes in my life. I feel the weight of my mistakes every day. Every day. And when Southern Girl tried to blame me for my daughter's murder or say that it was my karma, I want to know what's her karma for doing this to me. What's going to be her karma? Is she ready for it? What's her karma for all the things that she's done? Sounds like she hurt her mom. If she was a runaway, it sounds like she hurt her mom. So it sounds like, is she ready for her karma? So
I don't know, Sarah.
Be careful what you wish upon someone. It's going to happen right back to you. He said, okay, 22. Okay, that's more like it. Was she a smoker? Just kidding.
3 times. The Bible tells us 3 times something will come back on you. That's why I'm so scared to be, like a bully type like this or anything. I'm God-fearing. I don't want to purposely hurt anyone because I'm terrified of it coming back on me threefold,
Yeah.
So as angry as I get, I just grip my teeth and move on. I sent Charlie $5.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell him he gets to get a pizza tonight. I don't know. I went through a particular live where she may have thought it was finished. I had heard that 35 years a few times. At this point, he is a felon, so no way he can be on housing her income. Huh. You're talking about Mama T's husband? There's no excuse for some of the hate I've heard, graphic and disgusting details. Yeah, that was distorted, wasn't it, Sarah? And very misplaced for the situation, you know?
Gator, I will, but it'll probably be after the holidays and stuff are over and things kind of settle down, and then I'll come and do it one night. Sarah, I told Gypsy yesterday, some of these people who want to continually going over graphic and disgusting details and putting the picture in other people's heads of things that happened, like, saying the whole 12 is 12 thing and saying, Jimbo F the 12-year-old and this and that over and over again, and then like giving the details and things like they don't know because they weren't there, but they just do it anyways. That's any therapist will tell you that you're too into it to be talking about it so much and wanting to keep talking about it and explaining it and putting that image in people's minds.
Right. She's obsessing about it. It's going over and over and over in her mind. Okay, Jimmy. Psychologically disturbed. Yes, definitely.
That's what a therapist would say. They would be like, why are you so obsessed and you want to keep talking about this?
That's okay, Gator. Yeah, they would want to know why you're obsessing. Yeah, definitely. I think in her mind, we cock blocked her from getting with Ernie in her mind. Now, in his mind, she never had a chance. But in her mind, I totally believe that he made her think that there was going to be something there. I totally believe that. I believe that he made her think that. And that's why he could not take her wrench. That's why he could not stand up to her. And that's why he kept it going for as long as he did. And it ruined everything for everybody.
Yeah.
That one decision that he made, keeping that lie going in her mind has ruined it for everybody. Thanks a lot, Ernie. So all he had to do was cut her loose and say, I'm going to go be with this person now. But I think I totally believe he kept her, what's the word?
On the line.
Yeah, strung along.
Well, there's been a lot of scorned women by Ernie, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, I believe that. It's his history that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Beyond obsessed with controlling every creator's chat, she wants to be hers only. Nobody here can own creators and subs. Everyone is an individual. It's slavery, isn't it?
Yeah,
I got so triggered by it because bad things happened to me at the age of 11. So I had to regroup and let go of it. I'm sorry. And 11 years old and 12, we know you are a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree there. That was when I was diagnosed with anorexia. Sarah, 6 coats of polish on my nails. They are still breaking. On one finger, all polish is off. I didn't get to see your nails. Look what I've done throughout the show. Can y'all see? I've been peeling it off my polish because Manson makes me nervous. They're messed up already. Well, mine are too. Look at my Christmas nails. I got to redo mine tonight.
I haven't painted my nails and I don't even know how long. I'm so lazy.
I'm trying to keep from biting them, so I'm painting them.
I used to do it all the time. Like if I took one coat off, I was putting another on, and I haven't done that now in probably this whole year.
When I do the dishes, it makes them peel. It's destiny for me to not have long, pretty nails. Aw, don't give up yet. Thank God it wasn't my father, as he was a great support to me.
Well, I was
That was about the age. That was about the age it happened to me and my sister. And it was my grandfather on my dad's side. He came in our room one night, and we had to literally physically assault him to get him off of us. And he was very elderly, and he never made us go see him again because of that. I don't know if he was confused about where he was at or what he was doing. Like I said, he was elderly. But I know what you're saying, Chasta. That is an age of impression, and it left a scar on my sister, definitely. And things could have gotten worse, but we overpowered them so that nothing happened.
11 when my great grandfather started messing with me. And then I was 16, of course, when y'all have all heard the story I told about my bio dad, when he did what he did to me. So I had a fear of men there for a while.
Definitely.
But, one of my favorite songs growing up was Fancy by Reba. I loved that song.
Oh, God, me too.
And it wasn't until just a few years ago that I actually paid attention to the lyrics of the song and realized that the mom was pimping her teenage daughter out to get married because of poverty. And I was like, oh my God, I've sung that since I was a little girl, and I never really realized that that's what it was about.
Yeah, I don't think that people like around the world understand that that's something that happened a lot in the South, and especially in the Appalachian area, that the Appalachian Mountains, and the Valley, because they were coal miners, and women would have multiple children to work the fields, and that was your labor. Your children were your labor back then, and there was no child labor laws back then. And my best friend who's passed away, she was sort of in a situation like that. Grew up in a church and married someone that was sort of picked for hers, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Marrying them off. I mean, that was a Southern kind of thing to do. You marry off the girls. 12 is really young, but I understood that she lied about her age, and told everyone that she was 15 because she was driving. And everyone believed her because she was driving.
Well, when I looked up that song, because I was like, oh my goodness, I was singing it in the car, and then it kind of dawned on me what it was all about. So I got home and I looked up the song and, and why Reba sang it and where she got it from, the lady she got it from. And that was her story. The lady that she got the song from, that was her actual story from Tennessee, of what happened to her. And she says that was very popular, and that's the law was back there wasn't a law. That's the thing.
Wow.
And so I looked that
with
up.
labor laws either. It was marrying or labor.
Yeah. So I looked that up and I saw that for Tennessee and Kentucky and a few other states, that all the way until the late 90s, they didn't start changing the laws. And I think it said something like 96 or something was when they started making it where you had to be pregnant to be able to be married underage with pairing signature. And then they changed it again in like 2006. So yeah, it would have been completely legal when Jimbo did it.
I've seen pictures of I want to say 6, 7, 8-year-olds with the mining stuff on, and they're all black. There was no time to be a child back then. No time to be a child. They needed your hands. They needed your hands. You know, it's the same way in a lot of other cultures, you know. So, I mean.
My dad was 18 and he married my mom at 15. My grandmother, who I called my Nana, married a 19-year-old when she was 16. And my great-grandparents both got married at 15 years old. They were both 15. No pregnancies between any of them. That's just, they could do it.
Because they lied. They're saying that she lied about her age so that she could marry her daughter off to Jimbo. And like I said, that's very common in the Appalachian Mountains, to do what you've got to do to not have that mouth to feed when you leave. It becomes his parents' responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it, to be that poor?
It is. It's really heartbreaking. And I didn't know that it was such a huge thing in my lifetime until I started doing the research on it, and I saw how common that it was.
They would sit their child on the porch with a sign for sale.
It's awful.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind saying it because I believe us as adults, mothers, fathers, must say something, whether it's to T43 or the guy next door. Not saying something to me is like condoning that behavior. What did I say?
I personally, as soon as I found out about everything, I personally called Mama T and I questioned her and asked her and spoke to her private one-on-one about a lot of things, you know, and I feel like that's the way it should have been handled, but, you know.
They're trying to make a show out of everything.
Yeah.
That's why when she tried to get me up there on her panel, no. You can send me a message like normal people. I'm not going to make a show for you. All I wanted to do was say congratulations and good luck. I didn't want to make a big damn show of it, you know. They need to stop with the pedo stuff. Obviously, it committed no crime. I know. It's all they got, though, Gator. It's all they got. It's all they got.
Do you know how many people who hear the stuff that don't educate themselves on it, they don't do their own research, and they just hear them say it, believe it, and run with it? That's why they do it.
Lori only does what she's told to do, Gator. So Ernie told her to do that. She doesn't do anything on her own accord. Well, I'm going to get off here and go start dinner, and or no, I guess I'm ordering pizza, aren't I? Yeah. And let somebody else go live.
Okay.
So what did y'all think of that little tidbit of info on Squeaky Fromm and how he got women to kill for him? Did y'all enjoy that? Was it okay?
I find it all fascinating, and the fact that it's still going on to this day and it still works is crazy.
Disappointed, y'all. I was willing to start following her again and rejoin her chat, and I even told Jimbo, until when she came back from the interview and she said that she didn't pass the drug test, that she was going to have to take them the prescription and proof that she's on something. That's where I was like, there's something going on there, guys. There's something going on there. And where I've lost a daughter to Percocet addiction, somebody needs to have an intervention there. It's either alcohol or Percocets. And I don't know why, people haven't cared enough about her to have an intervention. Clearly, there needs to be one because the next one could kill her,
Well,
And I'm sensitive to the subject, I mean, it just seems like the people that are closest to her would have an intervention and say, look, XYZ, right? And if it's not XYZ, then what is it? Because there's something amiss, and everyone is seeing it. And I'm just really disappointed that people haven't cared enough to say this can be off screen, but we need to have a chat because that's what took my daughter. So I'm just real, what I'm saying? That's just sort of my Achilles heel. That's my sensitive topic, and I hate to actually ignore it and then condone it by ignoring it and then watch it fester in my own, realm of sight. Isn't right. So, at some point when I get off here, we should talk, but somebody needs to care enough about her to say something. Because like I said, the next one could kill her.
I did call her and ask her and try to talk with her, but she says that she is not on anything outside of what her doctor prescribes her. So if she's either one, telling the truth and she's just taking what her doctors, gave her, or two, she's not being honest. And then how can you help her when she won't be, admit the truth?
Mm-hmm. If it isn't an addiction, then it might be, like what happened to us. We were trying to care for too many people. We were trying to care for all 6 of our combined children, and some of them were adults. And we were taking on more than we could, afford. Mm-hmm. And so he started getting into financial trouble at the car lot. Thus, his report. It's easy to think they're my children, they're my responsibility. If that needs to be the intervention that needs to happen, I don't necessarily mean an intervention of drugs and alcohol. I mean an intervention of your lifestyle choice. If you're trying to maintain everybody in your family, and she's, rattled off several that were on, or that were disabled, not on disability, but that are totally dependent on her care. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, maybe the intervention doesn't need to be about drugs and alcohol. Maybe it needs to be, you're trying to take care of too many people and you need to take care of yourself. And I don't necessarily mean with Butch, So those are conversations that need to be had with her off screen if you really care about her and you're not trying to make a buck. Because that happened to us. We were trying to take care of all the kids, even though they were adults and could have done it on their own. We felt responsible.
Right.
And so maybe that's the conversation that needs to happen,
I know.
That's all I'm saying, because everything is staying status quo when you're asking for subs to buy tampons for your daughter.
Right.
So there needs to be a conversation there, because Nicolina doesn't get to be a classist and then support this. That's contradictory, and that's not realistic. So that's all I've got to say about that. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm here to pass on what happened to me might be happening there. Where, like I said, we were trying to and take care of his mother, who had dementia and Alzheimer's at the time. And my mother was a paranoid schizophrenic living on the streets at the time, and she would pop up. And we had the car lot, and he had an ex-wife from hell, and he had a sister from hell. And it was all these people, all these things going on at the car lot while we're trying to sell fucking cars. So it overwhelmed us. And now we're like burnt out, burnt out. So I see that happening, that might be it, that might be it. That we didn't have drugs and alcohol. We just had too many damn kids we were trying to feed when they needed to be out being independent and feeding themselves. But one, we enjoyed their company. We wanted them there. So we did it.
Yeah,
we liked having them around us. And if that's what it took, we were willing to do it.
Right, because you loved them and stuff, and that's family. But Rap went up there, and he said a lot of that stuff. Did you see that, Gypsy? He said you need to start taking care of everybody else and start taking care of yourself. Get up on your own.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Good for Rap. Well, finally, that's awesome. So he is someone who truly cares.
Yeah, he gave her some really good advice.
Isn't it awkward that the biggest troll has the levelest head?
He does in a lot of cases. I've seen that when he comes up on different panels and stuff.
And Smoky Mountain Mama.
Maybe she's really good for him.
Mm-hmm. They talk more level-headed than anybody else.
It's not all the screaming and the yelling.
Yeah, he's calm and he gets to the point. There's no heightened emotion. He just cuts through the chase.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and I hope I didn't get to rambling too much. And y'all stay safe in this snowstorm, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully tomorrow. I want to go live for Christmas Eve. Ken is going to tell the night before Christmas story, and then Christmas Day, I was hoping to go live for a little while for those that are at home alone. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, Fluffy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Gypsy. Love you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I love you. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Please be safe and be careful. And Erica, I'm praying for you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, bye.
Bye. You too, Shasta. Thank you for staying, and you had great input. I really appreciated you being here. And y'all have a Merry Christmas.